Check. Good day to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to watch round 2 of the 2023 MRC E-Challenge on a faithful recreation of the Berlin E-Prix circuit today. Brought to you by us, the Sim Broadcast team. My name is Travis Mehlinger, speaking to you once again with Tom Jones. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm good, Travis. Excited to be back. Last time out, we gave some very exciting races, of course, with some very thrilling conclusions, and I'm hoping to see some more again. It's a very different circuit design here today, but I'm still hoping for the same fantastic action we saw last time.
Agree. We had a great time in the first round. Just as exciting as we thought it would be. Tons of action, some strategy. Weather changed the complexion of the race in the second of the 2 races that day. Stole a strong result away from Jared Mead. Maybe he'll have better luck today. We just saw a picture on the screen of the E-Prix circuit. We can look at that again in a few minutes. There you see the schedule for this season. Round 1 in Mexico City E-Prix circuit 1 month ago. Now, today, the second round on the Berlin E-Prix circuit. We will go around this circuit one direction and then the other for race 2, so shaking it up a little bit today. In the background, we have cars on track for the open qualifying session. We'll take the top 8 from this session to go to the dual qualifying in a few minutes' time. And there we go. We got the timing tower up on screen. You can see a bright yellow car coming across the line right now. Imran Nazar in the top spot. He finished strongly last week. Jared Mead, just mentioned, not too far behind him, about 3/10 in second position.
Yeah, it was just until you started mentioning about Imran Nazar. Jared Mead was leading the way up until that point, so he's clearly come here today with intentions of performing as well as he did last time and hopefully getting that win.
And speaking of strong performances, Imran Nazar, as you said, there at the top, just pipped Jared Mead a moment ago. And then in third and fourth, Nico Patola and Gabor there in fourth position. Nico Patola won the second race last month. Gabor, Imran Azar, Nico Patola in that order in race one, and then the top three reversed for race two, Nico, Imran, Gabor. They'll be looking for another strong result today, extend their lead from the rest of the pack chasing them. But there you can see in fifth position, Carlos Magioides, very strong driver we've seen in the past. Martin Kapal also doing very well today. And Jared Mead hoping to redeem his performance from 1 month ago when he was in command before the weather came and then it all unraveled for him. There we see Carlos Magioides coming through that final corner. Very tricky coming over the grid here, and then a tricky entry and then braking into the first corner. Tom, this is I think this is an even more tight and twisting circuit than Mexico City, with some very tricky corners like the first one right here. Jared Mead doing a big drift for us before he comes into this little left-right complex, tight right-hand corner before he comes into the back part of the circuit. Predictions, Tom. We'll get those out of the way early. Curious what you expect will unfold today. This has become a fun recurring theme for us, where I watch cars go around on circuit and then I put you on the spot to see if you have the power of foresight for these exciting e-challenge events.
Well, I think it's going to be difficult to get a solid prediction here. It's a circuit with many variations of corner types. Of course, the first sector, it's incredibly tight and twisty, and there's not really any overtaking opportunities. That being said, we know a lot of these drivers on the grid don't seem to mind having a chance of one up the inside, which of course could lead to a bit of carnage in that early sector. And then you've got really in the middle sector around turn 7 and 8, you've got that it's medium sort of speed, but there's only really one line through there, so you're going to struggle to see any overtakes there. And of course, we've got the very fast run into turn 1, which then ends up being a long sweeping corner. And I can see some people making a bit of an optimistic move and it going a bit wrong into there. And of course, as it tightens away, I'm expecting to see some contact in there as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned turn 1 being tricky, and we'll talk about this a little bit more before race 2. Turn 1 becomes turn 10 for the second race of the 2 today. We will reverse the grid, or the top 10 spots on the grid, and then reverse the circuit as well. So all of these corners that are difficult one direction are going to be difficult the other direction. The track state has just gone wet. We see the green box there says dry, so it is raining begun, light rain we call it. So drivers not compelled to go onto wet tires yet. And the strategy call might be, oh man, Tom, I think it might be to stay on dry tires here and hope to get a lap in before it goes full wet. Because if it does go full wet and the drivers are compelled to change onto those road tires, they will have no prayer at all of setting a competitive time.
Yeah, I think we're going to struggle to see someone going round now and getting the times again. We know it's going to be, it's about 2.5 minutes, I think, to do your out lap and then into your qualifying lap. And so you've got to hope it stays dry the whole way around, otherwise you will have to dip into the pit lane and you won't be able to complete that fast lap if the track state does change to wet. So it's quite a gamble, but I think you've got to go for it now, otherwise you're not going to have another opportunity in this session.
Right, you are. Hearing that Ronnie Krompush is out on circuit, about to start a lap in just a few moments. So he is out there on dry tires, coming around now. We've got another driver out on circuit. There we go, Yasin Badal. We just saw Ronnie Krompush. Woo, big slide out of the last corner. That's going to compromise his speed into the first. Across the line right now. Tricky entry into this first corner. It's this long, sweeping left-hander. Gets the car slowed down there to the inside, a little bit like the first corner at the Chinese Formula One circuit. They're running nice and tight through that pair of right-hand corners and on his way to this tight left-hander with a right-hand kink that follows. They want to get on the power as early as he possibly can. 350 kilowatts of power in qualifying trim, only 300 during the race. So maximum power for qualifying now, hard onto the brakes into this tight left-hand hairpin. Kind of a wide entry and then a wide exit. Wants to get it as tight on the entry as he can. Now all the way out to the wall, and he'll have another tight corner to the left here before he dips to the right. And now hard on the power before he jumps on the brakes for another tight right-hand corner. Misses the apex slightly, runs the car out wide to the wall. Good power, good traction on the exit. And now the final left-hand corner before he comes onto the main straightaway. Nice and tight to the barrier, just touches it. Plenty of traction, no wheel spin like he did when he started this lap. Don't know if it'll be good for the top spot, but it does look like a strong lap. Rony Krompusch is faster, but he has not gained any position. Still there in 6th. Yeah, minute 30 left in the session, but no cars on circuit. So this may be where the drivers end up. Still time for someone to start a flying lap if they're out now. But it may be that this is where the times fall and where the session will conclude before we go into the dual qualifying session.
Yeah, I believe that's it with Imran Mazar. They're taking the top spot for that initial qualifying session.
So unless some drivers come across that we missed, and I don't believe we will see that, we do have Imran Azar at the top of the order on a minute 2.25 seconds, a little more than 2/10 clear of Nico Pantola, who managed to pip Jared Mead for the second position. Jared Mead there in third, Gabor in fourth, Gabriel Lara in fifth, Rony Krompusch, who we just watched a flying lap around the circuit, will be in sixth position. Martin Kapal in seventh, and in eighth, last driver through to the dual qualifying session will be Karolis Machiotis on a minute 4.39, 2 seconds back of Imran Azar in the provisional pole position. Tom, we had a ton of entries for today's race. I don't know if it was a record, but I believe we had 39. Drivers obviously finding this track a bit of a challenge, and only 14 starting today. So a few drivers who struggled in the first round. Drivers like Lorenzo Lucidi, who I think, if I recall, Tom, has drawn your attention for mismanaging his power in past events. William Davies, a newcomer. Good chance for them to find strong results with a lot of their competitors taking the week off.
Yeah, definitely. I think Lucidi got a little bit. It was a little bit too throttle happy. I didn't think he did quite enough recharging, which is what caused him the issues last time out. But yeah, definitely an opportunity for him to gain some valuable points for the championship. It is a difficult one. We've seen it in qualifying. We've seen just how tight it is with the walls, and there's a lot of stop starting here. So I think it'd be interesting to see how people are able to manage their power here and sort of conserve their car through the event as well.
Yes, indeed. There, the qualifying timer has ticked down to 0. No cars out on track. As we had predicted, nobody would come across at another time. So the order I gave you a few moments ago is the order we will have going into the dual qualifying session. There, you can see the bracket. Imran Azar, first qualifier in the open qualifying session, will meet Karolis Machiotis, the 8th fastest qualifier. Then we will have Gabor against Gabriel Lara, Jared Mead on Rony Krompusch, and then Nico Pantola against Martin Kapal. These 4 duels lining up to come out on track in just a few moments' time. Tom, I predict this is my prediction, and we can I can put you on the spot for more race predictions in a few moments. I predict that we will see a reprisal of the order in the first round of this championship with Imran Azar, Nico Pantola, Gabor near the top, and everyone else filtering in behind them.
I would 100% agree with that. I think we've got that really, really strong top 5. I think with Lara putting in a solid lap as well. Just half a second off Imran Mazar. So anything really is open for that top spot. It's going to be an interesting set of duels that we've got coming ahead of us now.
There you can see on the screen while we wait for the dual qualifying session to begin. You can see on the right the event format, the qualifying, 2 hot laps. Drivers are allowed to do 2 hot laps in the open qualifying session that we just concluded. Duels coming up in just a few moments, and then in about half an hour's time, we will have race 1, 33 laps on the counterclockwise circuit that you see there. You see turn number 1 there on the right, and then the circuit snaking its way around to turn 10 there in the middle left before the start-finish line there in blue. And then we will reverse this, go the opposite direction for race 2 after the conclusion of race 1. There will be different boost zones. So there we go. This is the clockwise configuration. So for race 2, you can see the attack boost on the outside of turn 5. So drivers there will be able to open up the exit of that corner slightly, carry a little bit more speed out, and then onto the boost. Ideally, that will help them carry much more speed and maybe just maybe, make an easy pass or two on this long back straightaway before the tricky entry through turn 6 and turn 7. And then on the previous graphic, you could see that the boost zone going the opposite direction on the inside of the circuit outside of turn 2. There you see on the screen once more the qualifying duels. One more time, Imran Azar, Carlos Magioitis coming up in just a moment's time. We will take 30 seconds or 1 minute for a breather, and then once we have cars on track, we will call the action for you. Thank you for tuning in, and we are back here on Sim Broadcast. Cars about to go on track for dual qualifying. First drivers up will be, there we go, Imran Azar and Carlos Magioitis. Session has started. Chat is closed. So drivers we will see coming out of the pit exit in just a moment's time. Tom, Imran Azar looking really strong, like he has done the most practice. 2/10 clear of his next competitor in the open qualifying session. But one mistake on the only lap you get in the dual qualifying session could spoil his plans for a strong start at the front of the order.
Yeah, it's very much a just 100% focus. Always makes it very interesting, these one lap attempts, because you've got to hook everything up just right, otherwise you're really in trouble, and then it can take the pressure off the driver behind you.
Imran Azar has left pit lane. Carlos Magioitis sitting there waiting for the green light, and now he is allowed to go away. Cameras on Imran Azar coming through this first few corners. It's tricky, long left-hand complex, followed by that right-hand hairpin. And now coming through this left-hander and the right kink onto this long straight. There you can see the exit of the attack boost section for this counterclockwise rendition of the circuit. He'll want to get these tires nice and heated up before he comes around to start his lap. Still a few corners yet. But Imran Azar in the catbird seat thus far.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a fight that's going to need to be made to beat Imran Azar. This one here, he definitely looks the strongest so far. It's going to be interesting to see if he can hold the pressure up for his lap.
Yeah, there he takes a very, very late and wide entry into the final corner to get as much traction and much power down on the road as he can before he starts this lap. Nice and easy into the first corner. Takes a middling entry, keeps it nice and tight for the end of that left hand. May have touched the handbrake there, Tom. Get the rear of the car coming around to make that right-hander. And now through this left-hand hairpin and right-hand kink on to the final straightaway. And the track has gone wet, so Imran Azar obviously cannot come in to change tires, but this may have just guaranteed him a pole position unless it's invalidated about halfway through his lap right now. So Imran Azar benefits from going out in dry conditions, and unless he makes a terrible mistake in the later part of this lap and Carlos Magioitis can overtake him, I believe this will essentially guarantee him pole position. Tom, what do you make of that?
It won't guarantee him pole position, will it? But it's duels. It's versus. But I have to. I think this is just based on this. So there we go. Imran Mazar's crossed the line there with a 103.74. Let's see what we can get here from Karas. He was seeming a bit scrappy on the exit of the final corner before he started his lap, and he's been a bit scrappy through the middle sector. And there it is. He just didn't quite have enough in him with a 104.9. So Imran Mazar does win his first duel of the day.
Yeah, I thought I had spoiled it with the commentator's curse, because Imran Azar had a nice tidy lap going until he went sailing too deep into the final corner, went very wide and lost the rear of the car, but still ahead of Carlos Machiotis, so he will advance to the next round of dual qualifying.
Of course, now with the next drivers, they will be on the street, the wet tyre for this round now. So it's going to be interesting to see who's practiced on that tyre, just in case this sort of situations come up. And it's going to be very interesting. Like we say, there's a lot. These cars don't have oodles of downforce, and there's some medium speed corners which will really be activating that downforce. And with that wet tyre, you're not going to have much grip at all.
No, not the downforce, not much use if the car isn't going fast enough, and it's difficult to get the traction down with this road tire on. There we can see Gabor, who we know is very good on these wet tires. He did very well in the wet conditions in the previous round 1 in Mexico City. There we can see him struggling to get traction, now cranking the wheels to get as much heat in as he can. Expected him to take a slightly late and wide entry into the final corner. Now a nice drift out to the wall, not too much wheel spin, but struggling to find grip. And now Gabor across the line to start his flying lap.
Yeah, I've just been watching. Sorry, do forgive me. The other driver, and he's struggled a bit round the mid sort of section of the track to get any sort of grip and heat in the tyres. So he's got a bit of damage to see on the front wing. Lara does before he's even started his lap, which of course isn't going to play well for him here. And he's really struggled to get the car going down the start finish straight here. So I think Gabor needs to just keep together and keep his tidy lap going, and it's almost a guaranteed win here from.
Yeah, it looks like Lara had gone straight into a barrier somewhere. The front of that machine crunched, as you said. Watching Gabor come out of this corner now, wide out to the wall, on the brakes to make that left-hand 90-degree bend, and now this right-hand kink, approaching this right-hand hairpin. Early on the brakes, nice and easy into the corner, using the rear of the car to rotate. A little bit of trouble getting traction down, but nice and tidy out of the exit of that corner. These tires not giving him the grip that he wants. Very wide out of the final corner, laying down a little bit of rubber, but manages to keep the car pointed the right direction. Now coming under the gantry and across the timing line now, Gabor with a minute 12.12. See if Gabriel Lara can beat that time. Judging by the condition of the front of this machine and how much he struggled early in the lap, seems likely he will not. But we will follow him through the final series of corners past the pit lane entry. Nice and tight, better line through here, and a nice straight line exit. Better traction than Gabor had. Gabriel Lara comes under the gantry and across the line now for a 1 minute 11.81. Goes faster than Gabor. So Gabor somewhere gave up 3/10 to Gabriel Lara. Gabriel Lara through. Gabor will start in the back of the front 8 runners, somewhere between 5th and 8th position. Tom, I'm a little surprised by that. Gabor looked a little bit untidy, but otherwise under control. Did not expect Gabriel Lara to pip him and take that spot.
Yeah, I think as he went around the hairpins of sort of turn 6, turn 9, I think he was definitely sliding a bit too much, which is where he just lost a lot of time. It looked incredibly good to look at, but it just cost him so much time, which Lara just pounced on and got the time that he needed.
Here we're following Roni Krompush has just come out of the pits, that bright green number 96 race green machine. Also struggling to get the power down. A little bit hard on the throttle, the loud pedal. Not that they need to worry about conserving energy in qualifying trim. They will get a full charge and slightly less power with race battery. Big slide out of this corner. Roni Krompush doing his best to get some heat into the tires. Nice and easy tiptoeing around this left-hand bend, and then full throttle. It looks to me like Roni is using these corners to try to heat up the rears as much as he can. If he's been paying attention to his competitors, He will be trying to put as much heat as he possibly can in those rear tires before he starts to take a flying lap. Tom, Jared Mead coming across the line now to start his flying lap.
Yeah, he's taking a super wide run through the final corner to get as good of a run down into turn one as he can. Gets on the brakes nice and early, but of course, with these wet tyres, there's very minimal grip as we see there. Huge understeer mid corner, but manages to get it back, not quite on the apex. And once again, it's just, he's just carried a little bit too much speed, so really struggling. We know these cars aren't helpful with the understeer in the best conditions, and so with these, it's definitely a bit more of a challenge, but he's done very well there to get the car turned in for 4 and 5 as we go down onto the long back straight towards turn 6 now.
Behind Jared Mead, Ronnie Krompush taking near identical line through the first sequence of bends. So struggling with grip equally as Jared Mead. Watching Jared Mead now on the right side of the racetrack, getting the car slowed down for this left-hand bend, way wide of the apex. Now through this right-hand kink, you want to be early on the brakes to get this car slowed down nice and tight to the apex. A little wide and late entry, but manages to keep the car off the wall on the left side of the road. Nearly to the end of this lap now. He'll keep it on to the right side, on the brakes, wants to get it down to this apex, but he's going to go wide and struggle for traction on the exit. A bit cleaner than Gabor was through there. Gets the power down, comes across the line to set a minute 12.76. Ronnie Krompush out of the final corner now, looking to pip Jared Mead. He needs to go a little bit quicker to advance to the next round, and he does not. 13.89. Jared Mead on a 12.76 advances. Ronnie Krompush will be relegated to the 5th through 8th positions. And now the last of the pairings in the first round of dual qualifying. Someone left pit lane. That was Nico Pantola who left pit lane, but I saw a red light. I see the pit exit open message in chat, so I think I missed the light. Yeah, Nico was through on a green light, and then it went red right as I looked. So clear of the rules. Nico Pantola out on circuit, trying to put some heat in his tires as we wait for his competitor to come out on circuit. Nico much gentler on the throttle. Oh, looking at Martin Capal. Martin Capal in the barrier. Not sure what's going on there. It looked like one of the wheels had broken and was off kilter, but he's driving against the wall to warm up the tires. Tom, I don't know of anything in the rules that says you can't do this, but I suspect he might draw some unwanted attention for that maneuver.
Yeah, Jared Mead did exactly the same thing on his session when he was out on his warm-up as well. So, but then looking at the times, it hasn't helped him, Jared, particularly much. So whether it really helps or not is yet to be seen.
Nico Pantola close to the apex, about a half a car's width wide of the wall, but good traction on the exit of the corner. Very fast, lots of speed into the first corner. Early on the brakes, gets the car slowed down nice and clean, using the rear of the car to rotate. A little bit over-rotated, but nice and tight in the final left-hand portion of that corner. Really tight through this double right-hand corner. Nico Pantola very clean through the first part of this lap. Now down into this left-hand bend before the right-hand kink. Nico Pantola, the first half of his lap, going almost perfectly, much cleaner than his competitors. Martin Capal just crossed the line to start his flying lap as we watch Nico Pantola come into this left-hand hairpin.
Yeah, my concern with how Nico's been driving, yes, it looks clean and fluid, but it's a lot of sideways with the forward, which, as we saw for Gabor, didn't particularly help his times. Well, saying that, Gabor did do a very good lap, but Alara just went better. That's all we can say about that. But it'll be interesting to see what Nico does in the end and how he manages to get the time he gets.
Nico Pantola a little wide of the apex there, but gets the car straightened up beautifully to put the power down on the way out of that corner, but very wide into the last corner. Uses the power to get the rear of the car to rotate so he can point it straight toward the start-finish line. Just grazes the barrier across the line now. Minute 11.01. So the best of the runners who had to drive in the rain. We'll look back now to see Martin Capal coming through this right-hand hairpin. One more corner before he comes around the start-finish line. Doesn't look like he'll be any competition for Nico Pantola, but it is not over yet. Nice and clean through the final corner, much more so than Nico Pantola was. Good traction on the exit, all the way out the wall. Little bit of wheel spin, rear of the car getting away from him. Martin Capal crosses the line with a minute 13.39. So Martin Capal cannot outpace Nico Pantola, and we have the second round, the semifinals, set for dual qualifying.
Yeah, going into the turn 6 at the end of the long straight, he went very, very deep. He missed the apex there by a solid probably 30 meters. He went so deep, and so I think that definitely cost him a lot of time. But he was struggling with getting the car turned in properly and getting on the power through the middle sector of the track. So I think that's where we saw Nico really pull that advantage away, and I think just disregard what I said about him through the start of the lap.
Yeah, the start of the lap looked really good, and he was able to seal the deal just over a minute and 11 seconds. Best of the runners who went in the wet. Imran Azar will take on Gabriel Lara in the first of these semifinal matchups, followed by Jared Mead and Nico Pantola. Imran Azar and Gabriel Lara poised to join the circuit in just a moment. There we could see Gabriel Lara sitting in pit lane. That bright fuchsia, violet, magenta. What color is that, Tom? That purple machine.
It's like a pink magenta sort of thing, isn't it?
Oh, Tom, pink magenta, and it's good that this car is so easy to identify because now we have heavy rain, wet conditions. Everyone now everyone who started after Imran Azar, the first round of the quarterfinals, had to go on wet tires, and now track state wet once again. So Gabriel Lara lining up behind Imran Azar, who is now across the pit exit line. Gabriel Lara will wait for that red light to turn green to allow him to join the circuit. Imran Azar now was the class of the field in the open qualifying session. 2/10 faster than Nico Pantola. Imran Azar using the rear of the car, sliding it all over the place, trying to get some heat in on his warm-up lap. We'll see if Imran Azar is as good on wet tires as he is in dry conditions.
Yeah, this definitely pays into the favour of Lara because he's already had that extra lap and a bit experience on these tyres over what Imran Azar has. Of course, he's only driven it with those slicker tyres, so it's going to be an interesting one. And I think the ball's definitely in Lara's court here simply because he has that extra practice.
Oh, Tom, sorry, Imran Azar went wide, a little bit aggressive trying to warm up the tires, carried too much speed through that left-hand hairpin bend and went wide into the wall. Not a very hard hit, but perhaps enough to upset the balance of the car. No visible damage, cranking on tons of lock coming through this right-hand corner, and now too much power on, slaps the wall with the left rear of the car. Tom, I think Imran Azar may be struggling with these conditions more than we thought he might.
I mean, Lara did very similar just then through the same corner, so it's going to be a similar one. But here we go. He's coming down now, starting his first flying lap into turn 1, getting onto the brakes now. Hard brakes, not lock the tyres. Very impressive, keeping it tight in. Saw him in the warm-up lap, but he's done an excellent job there at keeping it very tight. But huge kick-up oversteer around those corners of 2 and 3. Sorry. But getting it onto the power nicely, looked very under control and very, as I was about to say, very minimal fishtailing. But there we go, he's sliding now, laying a load of rubber on the long run now to turn 6.
Yeah, it looked very clean through the first complex of corners on the brakes. See the front of the car dipping and just scraping the ground. Imran Azar much cleaner through here than he was on his warm-up lap. He's feeling out the grip, uses all the road on the exit, all the way out to the wall. A little bit of oversteer, but manages to keep the rear of the car under control through this right-hand kink. Now he wants to be on the brakes nice and early, get the entry into this corner just right. Doesn't want to run wide, doesn't want too much wheel spin. Perfectly through that corner, just clips the apex. Great traction on the way out. The rear of the car just trying to get away from him, but still in command. Now into the final corner, very wide, way over the white line. Gets the car pointed the right direction, struggling to get the power down. He's using as much as he possibly can. The rear of the car just wanting to swap ends, but he does a 12.55. That will have been the quickest of all of the wet runners as we watch Gabriel Lara coming through the final corner now. Will be under the gantry and across the line with 11.27. Tom, Imran Azar's lap looked so clean, and Gabriel Lara has just blown past him by a full second.
Yeah, absolutely rapid by Lara from there. I know in Lara's first run, he did do, I think it was an 11.8 in his first wet tyre quali run. But I watched him through and I saw his split time at the end of the second split, and he was half a second up. So I knew he was putting in a fantastic lap, and just confirms that they're crossing line, managed to complete it all. He was very wide, but he carried a lot of speed through the corners, which was ultimately what managed to bring him through at the end.
There we can see the graphic. The final will be Gabriel Lara against the winner of this duel, Jared Mead or Nico Pantola. Nico Pantola out on circuit now. Jared Mead should be just behind him. There we can see Jared Mead on camera right now. using the walls, using the walls to warm up the tires. Cranking on a ton of lock to use the friction, and it's a bit cheeky using the wall to point the car the right direction while putting a ton of steering input in. I imagine we may see some new rules about this in future rounds, but I don't know of a rule that prevents it today. Jared Mead weaving, just keeping the rear of the car under control, trying to put as much heat in as he possibly can. A little bit wide coming out of this hairpin here. But we'll look for Nico Pantola, who has gone off, and now Jared Mead is ahead of him. Jared Mead way wide into the final corner, straight lining the exit as much as he possibly can to carry all the speed down the front straightaway. I don't know if this will be a big advantage, Tom, because you don't want to carry that much speed into the first corner. I've just been corrected in my ear that Jared Mead was out first, not Nico Pantola, so he was not passed on circuit. That was my mistake. I apologize for that. Watching Jared Mead coming out of that double right-hand bend and now into this left-hander before the right-hand kink. Tom, take him down the back straightaway.
Yeah, getting a good exit out there, very minimal wheel spin and getting the drive that he needs. Definitely that tyre warming has certainly helped him. He's all the way now on the right-hand side, getting on the brakes hard, laying a bit of rubber down just before that 100 board. Again, it turned in nicely and hitting that apex, running all the way out to the wall, but not hitting it, leaving a little bit of rubber again as he got on the power. See the long sweeping left of turn 7 and 8. Does 7 perfectly. 8, I think he clipped the inside slightly there. I'm not 100%, but either way, he did it very well. Coming round a bit of a wider line there through turn 9, but very minimal wheel spin again. He's getting the drive out of the corner. We see Nico in the back down there. Very different driving styles. Jared, a lot more point and squirt with a bit of a slide there through the final corner where Nico's definitely sliding the car a lot more, but running up to the line now. Let's see what time he's able to put in. He does a 112.5, and here we go with Nico putting in a 111.37. Fantastic from Nico, and definitely winning that duel there, and an excellent job.
Yeah, Nico Pantola just gets just behind Gabriel Lara with a minute 11.37. Gabriel Lara on an 11.27. So our final round will be Gabriel Lara against Nico Pantola. The two of them very evenly matched, judging by the times in the semifinals. We will see them out on circuit in just a few moments. The track stays still wet. I don't expect it could immediately go dry, so these two will be out once again on wet tires shortly. I received another correction in my ear while Jared Mead and Nico Pantola were going around that the top named driver will be the first one out on track. So we will see Gabriel Lara out first just before Nico Pantola, and that will be in just a few seconds. Tom, I enjoy this game of asking you for predictions, so I'll throw you a difficult one. Wild guess, if you're a gambling man, who takes pole position?
Lara. Everything so far, fastest in the not fast in drive, sorry, but he's been fastest really through these wet qualifying. And yes, Nico, I feel like, is starting. We know Nico is very quick and he's been getting closer to Lara, so his improvements have been there, but it's difficult for me to bet against Lara with how well he's been driving and how he's been faster than Nico in every round since there's a huge drift on there into turn 1.
That was a very impressive drift through turn 1. Gabriel Lara, this unadorned purple, magenta, neon colored. We didn't agree on a color, Tom. Mo says in my ear that it's magenta. This magenta machine, no sponsorships, no numbers, a rather Spartan livery that is quickly becoming memorable at the very front of the order. There we see Nico Pantola a little bit less ragged through the first bends. Through that left and right as Gabriel Lara's done a pirouette far away from any of the barriers that looked like it could have been on purpose. It's a curious strategy and a very risky strategy to put some heat in the tires, but a heart-stopping moment for us. He's on his way once again. Nice and tidy through that right-hand hairpin. And coming up to turn 10 to start his flying lap. Nice and wide over the white line, down to this apex just wide of the barrier. Ooh, very, very tidy through the middle of the corner, but difficult exit, struggling to get the power down under the gantry. past the timing line, and now on the brakes into turn one. Early on the brakes, nice and smooth on the way in. Keeps it very tight through the left-hander. Now this last left-hander, tighter than the first. Now through the two right-hand bends, very clean on the exit, stays off the barrier, no wheel spin. Early on the brakes through this left-hander, and now the right-hand kink. The rear of this car well under control. Nico Pantola takes 2 stabs at that double right-hand bend. Now into the left-handers. We look to Gabriel Lara one more time. Approaching this left-hand hairpin early on the brakes. Very clean. The car well under control. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit, but still getting the traction down well. Tom, he's coming up to the end of the lap, taking through this left-hand bend and around the finish.
Yeah, really well through turn 7 there and back again through turn 8. Huge slide though, as I was about to say, he was driving it very cleanly, but getting on the brakes well for turn 9 with the hairpin, getting it into the apex on the power, avoiding the wall, keeping it very under control with minimal wheel spin as we see. Getting on the brakes at the sort of standard point, apexing nicely and going again. Nico has been struggling all lap. I've been seeing him run wide all over the place. I would say that Lara's driving down the road sideways towards the finish line, putting in a 1:11.1. He lays another benchmark. He's only gotten faster, and I don't think we're going to see any sort of response from the others. I'm saying that he makes me eat my hat with a 1:11.09. What a fantastic lap. Seeing him drive, I just didn't think he had the opportunity. It just looked incredibly ragged, but that was fantastic from him in the end, and to take the win there, that's brilliant.
Great duel. Nico Pantola just 800ths quicker than Gabriel Lara, and that will put Nico Pantola on pole position for the first of 2 races here at this circuit, a layout in Live for Speed inspired by the Berlin E-Prix circuit. Nico Pantola once more will take pole position. Gabriel Lara will line up second, and then third and fourth, we'll check the times, will be either Jared Mead or Imran Azar lining up by their qualifying time. And then the 5th through 8th positions will be Carlos Magioitis, Gabor, Roni Kronpush, and Martin Kapal. We will sort out those times and report them before we start the first race. We will take a break for a few minutes while the drivers have their briefing, while we compile the standings. We'll be back with you in just a moment's time. All right, we are back, still working on the starting order for the first of 2 races today, but we do have the Drivers' Championship standings there on the screen for you. Gabor Jura will be in first position with 74 points. Just behind him on 73, his usual teammate, running under his own livery today and for this season, Nico Pantola in second position. Imran Azar in the third. Jared Mead there in fourth with 50 points, tied with Lorenzo Lucchidi, also on 50. Pedro Vitor has 33. Seventh is Carlos Eduardo with 32 points. Roni Kronpush there in 8th position. Gabriel Lara in 9th. And in 10th, Alexi Lamerto. There you can see 11th through 20th on the right side of your screen. Down to Yasin Badal on 0 points. Just squeaking into the top 20 by virtue either of his car number or his name, or perhaps the order in which he entered. And there, the remaining competitors. Owner Escanton on -2. We were discussing this, Tom, before the broadcast. We're not entirely sure how he got -2 points. I assume those are penalty points. And there is a rule that we had forgotten.
I believe it was from when he ran out of energy. He didn't follow the proper procedure for retiring.
Yes, indeed. You are right. There you have the team's championship standings on screen. Master Race Car, the hosts of this competition with 103 points. Team Sidus there in second, just behind. 3 points adrift with 100. Race Green with 80 points. Pacifictech, that will be Nico Pantola in fourth with 73. Savage Angus Racing in fifth. Racers Team in sixth. Team America seventh. Ogre Heat in eighth. Savage Sim Sports in ninth. 10th position, Road Apresa, strong, very strong endurance racing team. We've seen them on sim broadcast events in the past. There in 11th is Furtive Racing, and then the Department of Defense in 12th position. We're setting the grid in the background. Still need to work out what the starting order will be. We do know that Nico Pantola will be on pole position starting alongside Gabriel Lara. We're still working on reviewing the times to see who will line up third and fourth, and then fifth through eighth. Tom, now that we are approaching the start of the race predictions. A bit of information to inform you before you start gambling. There is no rain for the start of the race.
But the track is still wet.
The track is still wet, but there's no rain. So we will have to start on wet tires. But it's possible we'll go dry at some point during the running.
Yeah, I'm going to take a punt and say if it's not raining, it's probably going to go dry. So it's going to be one of those who it's going to benefit, I think, probably the drivers further back in the grid, because as they get round, you've got the weather line, and if it's just changes to dry once the lead drivers have gone past, well, they've got to do a whole nother lap on those slower compound tires. So the change on that could be absolutely crucial for the race result.
Yes, indeed. We do have the grid. They're still setting the grid, doing the drivers briefing in the background, but Nico Pantola will start in first position with Gabriel Lara alongside. In third will be Imran Azar with Jared Mead starting fourth position. The inside of the third row will be Gabor in fifth with Roni Kronpush starting sixth. Martin Kapal will line up seventh, and in eighth, last of the dual qualifiers, will be Carlos Montoyotas. Ninth position will be Carlos Eduardo with Lorenzo Lucidi alongside, followed by William Davies in 11th, Pedro Vitor in 12th. And then on the final row of the grid, Oleg Grigoriev starts 13th with Yasin Badal in 14th alongside him. Apologies for the quiet there. We're waiting to get the driver's briefing done and the grid set in the background. We've got statistics. Tom, we're gathering information and helpful infographics. There you can see the race 1 lap chart. It's I think clearer than anything else is that Gabor was in command for the entire race, led for pole position, cycled backward on pit stops, and then led the second half of the race in its entirety. Nico then up from third during the pit stop cycle, and then down to fourth and finished third position. And then you can see Imran Azar there went down the order a little bit and then back up. And race one. Race 1 concluded as you see there on screen, and then there, race 2, Gabor, Imran Azar, Nico Pantola, a reversal of the finish from the first race. Jared Mead there started 5th, and you can see him worked his way all the way up to first position before it came unraveled when the rain came. He struggled on those wet tires and then was really unable to fully recover. Tom, what do you think about Jared Mead today? Looking pretty strong in early qualifying. He's going to start near the front of the grid, can he redeem himself from a difficult race 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, I don't see why he can't. He's shown he's got good pace here. Again, it's one of those, again, your race pace and your racecraft can be very different to your one lap pace. Got some people who can be excellent with the one lap and then rubbish at race pace, or you could be like me and be completely unable to put a qualifying lap in and then be half decent at race pace. So we'll have to find out. We're going to really put that to the test with him today.
Indeed we will. And as we said at the top of the broadcast, only 14 runners today. A lot of entries, but a difficult circuit. A few drivers who finished well down the order in the first round. Now a good opportunity to make up valuable points and climb up the driver standings. There you can see the position heat map. So some interesting trends there. You can see where drivers tend to run in over the course of a round. Obviously, Nico Patola running pretty well, spent a lot of laps in first position. Rick Cardall spent some laps in the front of the order in the second race, and then, if I recall correctly, tumbled down the order. And then Imran Azar Gabor, obviously, a lot of laps near the front of the running. Interesting statistics. Hopefully we could see more graphics like these in future rounds. Still waiting for the driver's briefing in the background. We know the order. They're being reminded of the rules, the conditions that will be on track, which has just changed to no rain, dry track. So we will not be starting, unless rain comes between now and the start of the race, we will be starting on dry tires. Everyone running at full song, full grip. We'll take a few moments while we wait for the driver's briefing to conclude, and we will be back for the start, the first race of round 2, the 2023 Master Race Car E-Race. I'm sorry, the Master Race Cars E-Challenge. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Thanks. We are back, though we still have a bit of time to kill. They're concluding the driver's briefing in the background and will be setting the grid shortly. There you can see on the screen once again track map for the first race. The first corner, this long left-hand bend, very tricky. We saw drivers trying a few different lines through there in the qualifying session, and then we will reverse it. Everybody will be, I dare say, new to the layout, Tom, unless they've done some practice with it beforehand. A reversal of the track you see there on screen for the second race. I'm going to put you on the spot, Tom, because this is one of my favorite things to do during these events, is get progressively more wild and outlandish predictions from you. Give us one that seems plausible, but perhaps a little bit out there. Entertain us.
I'm gonna take a punt that most people haven't practiced the attack boost section. I'm gonna take a punt at that. I'm gonna say like probably one person's practiced it, and so as a result, one person's gonna gain probably 5 positions off it, and I reckon 2 or 3 people are gonna run out of power again.
Yeah, I was looking for something out there, but that seems totally plausible. Notably, if we're looking at the track map here, the attack boost entry on this direction is a little bit awkward because it's got that very tight hairpin in it, but it cuts off a hairpin that the drivers on the normal part of the racing circuit will have. So shortens the course ever so slightly. That corner's a little bit tighter, so the cars will get a boost in straight line speed, but I do wonder how much it will make a difference going in this direction. It's much more pronounced going the other direction. You get a wider exit out of it's turn 6 in this direction and turn 4 going the other way. But yeah, that's a good call, Tom. I think the attack boost in the previous round threw an interesting complication into the running, and a little bit more today. We will remind everyone, I think it's clear enough from the text there, but there will be 2 races, and we are going to make it more interesting today by going clockwise, the opposite direction around this circuit. It looks like we have drivers briefing concluded and grid set. We've got Tom's wild and crazy predictions done. There we can see the front of the order. We will do the grid presentation in just a moment. Tom, give us one more wild and crazy prediction before the presentation car takes us down to the order.
3-car pile up turn 1.
A 3-car pile in turn 1. That's it's a tricky first corner, so that doesn't seem totally unrealistic. So we'll accept that.
I'm expecting someone to be very confident going onto the brakes and then suddenly realizing they're a bit too confident.
There we go. We can see Nico Pantola on the right side of the grid in pole position. We will drive past him to see that bright purple machine of Gabriel Lara starting second. In third position, we will have Imran Azar, that bright yellow car with this, I believe I called it burnt orange last time. Jared Mead starting fourth there in fifth position. Behind him, Gabor in the team Sidus machine alongside Roni Kronpush, that lime green neon machine, with Martin Kapal in seventh behind him, alongside Martin Kapal in eighth position. Last of the dual qualifiers, Karolis Maggioitis. Behind him, we have Carlos Eduardo in ninth position, first of the runners who did not make the dual qualifying, with Lorenzo Lucidi alongside him. Next row of the grid, we have William Davies looking for a strong finish today. Well down the order in the first round, but benefiting from fewer competitors here today. Alongside him will be Pedro Vitor, the Brazilian, in 12th position. Now, looking back to the final row of the grid, we have Oleg Grigorievs in 13th, and Yasin Badal looks like he will not be taking the start. 2 course cars there at the back of the grid. Now, looking ahead once more to Nico Pantola. He will lead these cars away in the 87 machine into the first corner. Now further away, waiting for them to come into turn 1, and we're waiting for the lights to come up to start the first race of the second round of the MRC E-Challenge 2023 season. Lights coming up right now, waiting for the first light to come on. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and once they go out, we will be away. Nico Pantola poised. There he goes on the throttle. Good getaway from Nico Pantola. Another good start from Imran Azar, up to second position from the very start of the race. No three-car pileup, as Tom predicted yet. Everybody nice and tidy through the first sequence of corners. Some cars running abreast, but now stringing out into single file. Everyone cleanly through the first sequence of corners as Nico Patola leads them into this left-hand bend. Oh, Jared Mead gets touched in the background. Tom, there's one car, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, the track is completely blocked. Ronnie Kronpusch manages to get away. And everyone, I saw a car flip over. There's a car on the right side in the wall there that looked like Carlos Eduardo in the wall. But Tom, you had a 3-car pileup that immediately cleared itself.
Yeah, I won't lie. I was fist pump in the air when it happened. I should have been, but my prediction came true. So we'll take it. I think Gabriel Lara's had an absolute nightmare at turn 6. I think that was him way off the track. So I think he missed his braking point there and ran incredibly wide, but no damage caused, and he has managed to get going again.
End of the first lap. Nico Patola out of the final corner and coming down the front straightaway. Great start from Nico Patola. Good traction off the line. Imran Azar also got away from the second row to tuck in right behind Nico Patola. And these two have already stretched a gap on Gabor, who's up to 3rd. Martin Gapal jumps up to 4th position. Lucidi into 5th. Jared Mead fell down from 4th. Not too bad for him. He's still in 6th position. Carlos Matioitas up 1 position into 7th. Pedro Vitor there in 8th. Ronnie Kronpusch got the worst of that schmozzle in the first sequence of corners, has fallen down to, that'll be 9th in the running order. I heard someone in pit lane. I'll need someone to remind me in my ear. Gabriel Lara, yeah, Tom, you said that he had a bad time of it coming out of the first lap, and he did end up in pit lane. So there we go. Following Nico Patola leading Imran Azar, Gabor has wasted no time closing that gap. He is nearly with them now, though he was a 2.5, 2 seconds back on the previous lap. Now everyone's strung out single file. You can see the charges, the usages on the right side of the timing tower there as we watch Jared Mead spin and recover. Off he goes again with Ronnie Kronpusch now reclaiming one of the positions he lost earlier. Yeah, nobody has used the attack zone yet as we start this 3rd lap.
Yeah, just quickly on Lara, he did get hit in the back in that initial big pile-up, so I think that's why he might have then had further issues into turn 6. And then with Jared Mead, as he came out the corner there, he went to go, and I think he had a little coming together with there we go, Jared Mead diving into the attack boost zone, first person I've seen to use it. So goes to see if he's practiced it, gets good, fantastic use of it there, absolutely brilliant, and has jumped Ronnie Kronpusch with that use and has brought him right up onto the back of Pedro Vitor there. Fantastic time to use it.
Yeah, easily passed Ronnie Kronpusch there. As soon as we got the call in our ears from race control, and they showed the message on stream, he was through. And while just after that happens, Imran Azar taking a dive up the inside of Nico Patola, putting him down to 2nd position. Imran Azar up where he, I'm sure he felt like he should be at the very beginning of this race. Up to the top spot. Nico Patola said in chat during the driver's briefing that he didn't feel like his lap should have been good enough and that Imran Azar deserved pole position. And now Imran Azar, as Nico politely ceded to him, now running at the top of the order. These 3 together until Nico Patola dives into attack boost. You can see him there into that hairpin corner. Nice and tidy through there. Gets it as wide as he possibly can onto the attack boost. You can hear the engine spool up. That electric motor carrying him easily in front of Imran Azar. So, Tom, well, we know something now that is very helpful for us to call the rest of this first race. The power of the attack boost is real, much more pronounced than it was in the first round.
Yeah, it looks a lot. I think the drivers may have made some slight setup changes because the cars look a lot more stable when they hit the attack boost. I know in the previous round they kind of went a bit all over the place, but they look a lot more stable and able to really attack the boost there and go. As we see, I think Carlos Matioitas going up the inside of Lucidi there. I have to say I wasn't watching the battle initially, but it was a very good job either way.
Other way around, Tom. Lucidi ahead of Carlos Matioitas. Ooh, Carlos Matioitas looked like he'd get the traction to be right up behind Lorenzo Lucidi out of the corner, but a ton of wheel spin. Ronnie Kronpusch now trying to chase them down. As we look ahead once more to Nico Patola, who just retook the lead using the attack boost on the previous lap. And in the background, we can see Gabor takes the attack boost. We'll see how much effect this has from as far back as Gabor was up onto the boost. The car sailing out of there. Ooh, rear of the car nearly gets away from him. Tom, amazing save from Gabor coming out of the attack boost section.
Yeah, Carlos Montoya just took it as well. And I don't think he got quite as good as a run through it as well because he's popped out behind Lucidi again. Although I think he's going for an attack up the inside. I can't see it, I'm afraid. There we go, yeah, side by side, and he has made the move stick as we go through turn 7. There is turn 8. The attack boost is really strong, and the drivers seem to be taking maximum effect of it. I think everyone who's used it has gained a position from doing so far.
Yep, about half the drivers in the order now have used the attack boost. Only 12 cars running now. We had 13 take the start of the race, 12 running now. Not sure which driver has retired. I think it was probably Gabriel Lara. Yeah, Lara, bad to worse for him in that incident at the start, and now out of the race. Imran Azar now taking his turn through the attack boost. He'll make that left-hand bend, just misses the red barrier. A little bit of wheel spin coming in, but straightens the car out before the boost. And he's still pretty far behind Nico Patola, but he does come out well clear of Gabor. So, Tom, it seems like the trick to the attack boost, it works really well, is very strong, represents a big advantage for the drivers, but very important for them to get the power down cleanly and keep traction at the rear of the car on the way out. Otherwise, the huge wheel spin and the car sliding everywhere negates any advantage they might get. So we watch Nico Patola use the rear of the car really well to get it turned in and pointed down this straightaway toward the 10th corner before they come around to start the 7th lap.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a pattern here. The ones we see, I think it might be a setup thing again, because it looked, Imran's car looks a lot less settled over that attack boost than Nico's did. So I think it might be a little bit of a setup, or maybe how they're setting themselves up to approach the actual boost itself. We'll have to see if they're able to fix that through the rest of the race, though, in their coming attempts.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on these drivers to see who uses it to best effect. Nico Pantola used it very well when he went through there. As we see a course car in the background, I assume, I hope that's not chasing down a car on its lid. Nope, just repositioning the car off the circuit. No, nothing going wrong there. Everyone's still running just fine. The running order, as you can see them there, Nico Pantola in the lead from pole position, briefly ceded first to Imran Azar, to that man in the yellow machine in second position. And Gabor runs behind them with Martin Capal up to 4th position. Carlos Matiotis up to 5th, is now safely ahead of Lorenzo Lucidi. There's been a trading of positions among these drivers. Carlos Matiotis benefiting from it now. Lucidi in 6th, Pedro Vitor in 7th. Jared Mead in 8th has fallen back again with Ronnie Krampusch in 9th. Carlos Eduardo rounding out the top 10. Jared Mead, great traction out of the final corner. Looked like he might come up the inside on the exit. Now following Vitor down the front straightaway. Jared Mead much better on the brakes. Oh, I don't think he expected Pedro Vitor to be that early on the brakes there. Jared Mead had to take evasive action, 2 stabs at the corner to avoid hitting him now right up the rear of Pedro Vitor. Tom, it looks like Jared Mead more confident in the grip that his car has than Pedro Vitor is.
Yeah, I've been watching Jared for a few laps. He lets off a lot earlier, get a lot more recharge done with it. I think he lets off around the 200. There you go. He's let off there about 220. He doesn't get on the brakes till about the 75 point, and it really allows him to close in on Pedro ahead, who I think lets off later and brakes earlier. So it's really, I think it's going to be allowing him to use more charge definitely later on in the race. Just checking the stats there, all of them saying this, and Pedro is 1% more charge than him. So I don't know how he's definitely more confident on the brakes, but he always seems to lose a bit in that, not the first stage of accelerating out the corner, but sort of that second stage as you're really building up your speed.
Yeah, watching Jared Mead, he's taking a slightly later entry into these corners too, so he's getting a little bit more charge by lifting and coasting on the way in, and is more confident on the brakes, is able to get the car settled into the middle of the corner. But then he's taking a later entry and putting the power down earlier, so that's going to cost him a little bit of charge, using that extra power to drive the car off these corners. Looking at Martin Capal now through that little kink and up onto the attack boost. Definitely it looks like it got him a little bit of an advantage. He's a bit closer now than he was to Carlos Matiotis, running there in 4th position. Carlos taking a late entry into that corner as well, using his line, get the power down a little bit earlier down that straightaway. But the front of the running remains unchanged. Nico Pantola is the leader, 1 second clear of Imran Azar. Gabor appears to be perfectly happy to run 1.6 seconds behind in 3rd place. He can use the aerodynamic advantage there to save a little bit of energy. Let Imran Azar punch a hole in the air. And here we watch them cross the line. Gabor could have a look here. He's a little bit far back. Decides to lift, coast, follow Imran Azar through once more.
Yeah, it's a very stable front we have there. As we see Nico diving into the Joker section, of which I think threw off Imran a little bit because he ran a lot wider than I expected there, which probably has hindered him. But Nico's there. Oh, he's a very squiggly off the exit of the attack boost there. But I think Imran's issues in the middle there has definitely caused him a lot of issues because he's so far back. As we see Jared B now going into the attack boost, hits it perfectly, gets a great run out there and jumps ahead of Pedro Vitor there. Fantastic use by Jared Mead. He'd been sizing him up, sat behind him for a couple laps, and I think he knew he was a bit quicker. He had more that he could do, so he used the best way to get past.
Yeah, so there we have it confirmed for us. I would say that the exit to the attack boost section is the key. Nico Patola a little bit wild on the way out, but still benefited by Imran Azar having such a horrendous entry into that double right-hander in the first sequence of corners. But Jared Mead perfectly out of the attack boost section, able to take that position off Pedro Vitor, and now getting the power down. Good traction out of the final corner as he sets off in pursuit of Lorenzo Lucidi in sixth.
Yeah, just want to say with Nico Pantola set the fastest lap of the race there with a 1:04.8 with his use of the attack boost, which is just absolutely fantastic with the fact they've got 50 less kilowatts than normal. As we see, I've just seen Pedro Vitor dive into the attack boost run to see if he can get that position back on Jared Mead, who's going to have to go a bit defensive, but he hasn't had the cleanest run. He did hit the wall going through. He will have the overall speed on the way down to turn 6 as he moves to the left-hand side. He goes for the lunge. He's got the brakes held up, but Jared Mead has done a fantastic job of holding it around the outside and holding the position still. I think Pedro's going to be kicking himself. He hit the wall, otherwise I think that was surely a done move.
Brilliant driving from the two of them. Pedro Vitor heroic on the brakes and managed to get the car stopped. Jared Mead recognizing what was happening, a very late send, gave him plenty of room. Pedro Vitor kept the car under control, held the inside line, but Jared gave him the room, was able to get the power down on the wider exit of the corner and retains that position. Pedro Vitor working hard for it. We know now, Tom, we criticized him a moment ago that Jared Mead was a little bit better on the brakes, just reclaiming the energy and getting a good entry into the corner, but Pedro Vitor is able to make late on the brakes work. If he has another stab at that, I dare say he may have a shot at Jared Mead. He can come from that far back and get the car stopped in time.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about that I've noticed is Jared just seems a bit stronger through that first couple corners, which I think gives him enough of a safety barrier before getting to the attack boost section. So I think he's got that for him, which has really helped. But then he's a little bit weaker in sort of the back areas of the track. So I think it's unfortunate placement for Pedro Vitor, as it's going to make it harder for him to really take maximum effect of that attack boost.
So I have a prediction now as we're looking at the energy remaining for all drivers. The lowest we see there is 60% for Martin Capal, so everybody pretty close. But Nico Pantola, 64% remaining. Imran Azar, 67.5. Gabor also on 64.5. Imran has managed to save some energy. Nico Pantola running a little bit, using the rear of the car there to swing it around these very tight corners. Nico Pantola was about a second and a half clear of Imran Azar. Imran Azar has caught up while also conserving that precious energy. So somewhere, I think either Nico made a mistake or Imran Azar is just the class of the field at managing energy and using it as efficiently as he possibly can.
Yeah, I'd say looking at that, they've got 20 laps to go. You've got about need a bit over 3% a lap there to make that, and it's going to be an interesting one because it definitely means Imran's got the energy he can use to really attack towards the end of the race, where Nico is going to have to be mindful of his energy all the way through now to the end. Maybe work a bit harder on energy conservation, which is why I think Imran's been able to catch back on him so much after he had that big advantage after his attack boost. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play out with this and the swings and the ebbs and flows, of the energy management with trying to hold and maintain positions.
So this is another theme that I hope to cement in our E-Challenge broadcasts is the last time we had a similar conversation about 1 month ago in the first round, you disappeared for a few moments to whip out your calculator and a pencil and paper to kind of play out the scenarios with energy consumption and how much each would need to use, as it looks like Nico Looked like Nico was going to let Imran Azar by. He goes defensive and slowed down. I think that might be an interesting energy management tactic to be defensive on the entry to that corner and then coast, make it difficult for Imran Azar to take the position on the outside, save a little bit of energy while holding the position with positioning of the car on the track.
Yeah, very possibly. Sorry, I'm just doing a little calculation as you mentioned. I'm gonna put it together, but it's not looking the most optimistic in favor of Nico. He's got 3% to use each lap. That's it. He can't. If he uses any more, he's going to be in serious trouble because he won't make it to the end.
Yeah, and I think that appears to be the tactic now as he ducks into the attack boost section. Nice fishtailing rear end of the car, sweeping away from him to get it turned into that hairpin over the boost, well ahead of Imran Azar. So now Nico, he's used his final attack boost, but now he's given himself a bit of a buffer as we watch Martin Kapal come through the attack boost section as well. Nice and clean, nice and tidy over the exit of the attack boost section, gives himself a bit of a buffer. So smart driving, heads up by Nico Patola to use the attack boost to give himself a buffer. Now he can take a slightly longer coast into these corners, conserve a bit of energy because, as you said, Tom, he is running a deficit to the two drivers behind him, Imran Azar and Gabor. He will need to save a little bit, squeak out just a little bit more in each corner to make sure that he has enough at the end of the race to not only finish, but also race Imran Azar and Gabor Jura if he's going to be fighting them in the closing laps.
Yeah, I mean, Imran's got a lap and a half energy more than him, and we're just not quite even at the halfway point of the race yet. So it's a little bit concerning for Nico. I know he's going fast and setting those rapid laps. As we see Gabor dive into the attack boost, but he had a very messy time round that hairpin, and I can see already how far ahead Imran is. But of course, you get a fantastic run there with the slipstream as well. He tucks back in, but he's not going to go for any moves. He's just going to use that, but I think it has cost him time rather than gaining him there. It was a bit messy.
Yeah, very messy entry by Gabor. He's not lost any time because the boost is so significant, but definitely not the advantage he hoped to gain. Imran Azar right there with Nico Patola once again. So I think Nico Patola, we guessed what Nico might be doing with the attack boost and with the positioning of his car to try to conserve, because we know, and he'll know, that he needs to conserve some energy. But he's also setting fastest laps. He just set the fastest lap of the race on the prior lap. So he may be conserving, he needs to conserve, but he's still running faster than everyone else on circuit. So not entirely sure if perhaps he knows something we don't. Perhaps he's miscalculated somewhere. But at this point, all we could do is wait and see. 16 laps remaining in this race. Nico Patola still in control, but as by our calculations, he might be in a little bit of energy trouble.
Yeah, it's not looking the most optimistic, but there we go. Lachidi's dived into the boost as well, I'm hearing, so let's see how he gets through. Looks quite clean so far, but of course we didn't see the really tricky bit. He's tapped the wall again, but he has still popped ahead of Jared Mead, but he has, I think he might have lost the position to Martin Kapur, or he is jumping on him there. He's going for the position there, but Jared Mead is right there behind them, and it is really bunched up at the back there.
This might be your three-car pileup, Tom. 3-4 cars all running a line astern. Lorenzo Lucchidi just swiped those two positions off Jared Mead and Martin Kapal. Yeah, Pedro Vitor up the inside. He's going to take two positions in one corner if he can get the power down. Good traction out of the corner. He's alongside, just alongside. Martin Kapal there, still banging doors. Though these cars don't have doors, Martin Kapal has to take a tighter line. He's not going to get the traction down as well as Pedro Vitor. Pedro Vitor is there. He's ahead. Martin Kapal tucks in behind. Heroic on the brakes. We talked about this a few laps ago as Jared Mead is also hard and late on the brakes. These two touching door to door, wheel to wheel. Jared Mead manages to snatch the position back, pulls the same move that Pedro Vitor pulled on him a few laps ago. Late on the brakes, late dive, swipes the position. Up at the front, we missed this, watching this five-way battle. Nico Patola in the lead, but now has Gabor in his mirrors. Gabor has taken the position from Imran Azar. He didn't do that on attack boost. He still has one usage remaining. Imran Azar tries to take the position on the outside from Gabor, but can't do it. Still unchanged at the front since I called it a moment ago. Nico Patola with Gabor behind him. watching this battle. Rony Krampusch now right up behind Martin Capal once again, and Pedro Vitor late on the brakes, gets Lucchidi. So Pedro Vitor, 2 cars in 2 corners, and then does it again to get Lucchidi. Ooh, Lucchidi, I think, man, the brake bias may not be right on that car, or he was a little bit hard on the brakes. The rear end nearly swapping ends on him, Tom.
Yeah, I think Pedro Vitor has sort of had enough of hanging around and wants to get going. As we see Jared Mead going for that fantastic move up the inside again. If I was Jared, I would dive to the attack boost now. Oh, I think...
Sorry to interrupt you, Tom. Imran Azar in through the boost section, now retaking that position from Gabor. They were alongside when he was coming out of the boost section. Imran Azar briefly had that position. They're side by side. They touch wheels. Gabor, a little bit of contact. Gabor just clips the wall. I think Imran probably thought he left enough room there and just didn't realize how tight it was. Clearly not intentional. Just tight racing. Everyone away, no harm done. Gabor will be able to catch up to him, no problem, and has 1 attack boost use remaining. The cars ahead of him, Nico Patola and Imran Azar, do not. Nico Patola still appears to be running a slight deficit on energy, Tom. It is going to be difficult for him to manage. It's now a lap and a half, more than a lap and a half worth of energy that he's running less than Imran Azar.
Yeah, it's nearly 2 laps there now, which is it's worrying for him. But then again, we are 19 laps done. We're on the 20th lap of the race. He's only got 13 laps to go, but it's going to be close, and I'm afraid to call it either way. I think my personal gut says it's not looking particularly good for Nico, simply because it means that Imran and Gabor can just absolutely go full attack without having to worry about saving, as Lucchidi has dived into the attack boost. Let's see how he pops out here. Yeah, I think he had a lot cleaner run here, but I don't think he quite got the speed out of it that he needed. Either way, he's still in there behind Jared Mead.
Yeah, behind them, Rony got a good boost, and now right up behind Lorenzo Lucchidi. The positions remain unchanged, so this race, much closer on prior laps, is now stretched out a little bit. Some gaps between these cars, nobody in close contention right now. At the front, Imran Azar is right up behind Nico Pantola. Nico really needs to conserve now, unless our math is not as good as his, and he's running it right down to the very limit. Nico Pantola retains the lead, and Imran Azar a little bit wide through turn 1. But still close at the front. Nico Pantola, we fear, is in danger of running out of energy at the end of this race. He'll need to manage very carefully. Imran Azar and Gabor very carefully managing theirs, have more than Nico does. Everyone having used, not everyone, Nico Pantola, Imran Azar have used all their attack boosts. Gabor has not. Carlos Matiotis has caught up to this pack. Now right there behind Gabor also has 1 attack boost remaining. So what was a 3-car fight at the front, now 4. Carlos Matiotis hanging out in the back, waiting for something to happen in front of him. Whatever happens, if he can maintain this position, it'll be a very strong finish for him.
Yeah, the top 8, 2 groups of 4 really fighting out for the position at the front. There's a little bit of a gap there opened up between Gabor and Imran, but I wouldn't worry about it if I was Gabor.
Gabor took 2 stabs at the final corner there. I think he went in a little bit early and didn't realize that he had more traction than he had expected. Big lift and early coast from Carlos Matiotis well before 150 meters. Nice and smooth through this first sequence of corners. This is the key to conserving energy in these cars, or one of the keys, we should say, is being very, very smooth. So the smooth application to the throttle, optimizing the coast. As we look back to Rony Krampusch, who has gotten Lorenzo Lucchidi in the first corner, swipes 7th position. Yeah, Rony Krampusch there, yes, easily ahead. I had briefly mistaken the green colors of those cars, but Rony Krampusch's lime green machine, very obvious now, right up behind Jared Mead.
Yeah, I think Rony's been saving a little bit and is now kind of going on a bit of an attack. He does still have those 3 attack boosts to use, which I think he's looking for an opportunity to try and pull away a bit. Of course, everyone else around him has 1 left, but Lucchidi, of course, behind doesn't have any available for him to use. So it's going to be interesting strategy on how he uses this.
Watching this fight here with Jared Mead in the green and black, blue, and orange sandwich. Drivers competing on circuit for finishing positions, also competing for our attention as we watch this battle for 4th through 8th. It is even tighter at the front now. This 4-car train is now properly a train. The cars coupled together. Nico Pantola leading Imran Azar, Gabor, and Carlos Matiotis, all within a few tenths. Still 1 use of attack boost for Gabor and Carlos Matiotis at the front as we watch These cars now running very
Sorry,
tight.
Ronnie's dived in. He's
yes, he
using
has.
it.
Tom, take him.
Let's see if he can get. He's missed up the first corner there. Let's see if he's able to use that. I know Pedro and oh, there we go. Fantastic exit for him though over the boost, but I think maybe the damage was already done for his attempt. Although he's still there on the inside as we see Jared Reed going around the outside of Pedro. I think he's got a bit too wide there. Hasn't really made any benefit of that, but Roney is of course up the inside of him as we go into turn 7. He does, Jared very aware of it, gives way to it and lets it happen, but of course is staying right in there behind him available.
In front, Carlos Maggioitis had a look at Gabor in turn 9. Wasn't able to take the position. Gabor retains that 3rd place, but Carlos Maggioitis getting racy as Gabor is right under the rear wing, the diffuser of that bright yellow machine of Imran Azar. Carlos Maggioitis goes for the attack boost. He needs to get this hairpin just right. Nice and maybe a little bit wide, but good through this left-hand kink. Now up onto the attack boost. Very clean, well clear of the walls. Great exit, a little bit of wheel spin at the end, but he's alongside Gabor. He will easily take this 3rd position. Imran Azar, late dive there on the brakes to try to block, but Carlos Maggioitis, head of steam, able to get through 4th to 2nd in the span of 1 straightaway and a corner, and now lurking behind Nico Pantola, who is low on energy. He's now 2 laps. He's running 2 laps less energy, Tom, than Carlos Maggioitis behind him, and Imran Azar, still the best of the field, has used his energy most efficiently, lurking there in 3rd position. Bold prediction here, Tom. Imran Azar is, I think, the best positioned for a late attack. We know how well the attack boost works, though he doesn't have any remaining. Gabor, a little bit less, about a lap less energy than Imran Azar, might have a shot using attack boost, but I think this is anyone's race. I'm going to tip my hat and my prediction to Imran Azar, though. He can push really hard in the waning laps with the amount of energy he has remaining.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just what we've missed with the other group, though, in that last lap is Roney took the lead of that group. He moved up to P5 and ahead of it, and he's doing a solid defense from Pedro here. And Pedro, Vitor, and Mead are diving into the attack boost now. Oh, scrappy from Mead, but Vitor's done quite well, so that's going to hinder Mead on the way through, but Vitor's not had a good run through there at all. He was all sorts of sideways, but it has spat him back out, and he's going for the dive up the inside of Roney there. He makes it, he gets up the inside, and he's covered it off well. He got the car stopped, he makes it stick. It was kind of a wasted run from Mead through there. I think he wanted to go through there alone, but as soon as Vitor dived for it, he kind of got stuck between what he was going to do, but he was all out of line to make the corner, so he just stuck with it anyway.
Pedro Vitor putting on a master class of braking. We've seen him make many of those late moves as Imran Azar goes around Carlos Maggioitis. Looked like Carlos lifted earlier and left the position. Imran Azar runs a little bit wide through the first corner, just touches wheels, wheel to front wing perhaps on Imran Azar. Carlos Maggioitis looked like he was going to cede that position to Imran Azar, but they remain as they were. Nico Pantola in first with Carlos Maggioitis trailing. Imran Azar there in the bright yellow machine running 3rd. And Gabor lurking there in 4th position. We need to look back once more because Jared Mead has gotten Roney. Tom,
yeah, Roney dropped it on the brakes into turn 1. Sorry, Travis. Yeah, he dropped it on the brakes into turn 1 while trying to send it back on Vitor and hit the wall on the inside, which nearly took out Jared Mead, but did well to hold on to it. And Jared did well to avoid him and swoop on round the outside to take that position.
Yeah, Tom, we said at the top of the broadcast that we hope for an exciting race, as exciting as we had in the first round, and we're only just 3/4 of the way through the first race of 2 here today, and we could barely catch a breath. Nico Pantola extending an advantage slightly now over Imran Azar, though it looks like he has lifted way early. Imran Azar coasting right up to him. About a car length back into the first corner. Nico Pantola nice and smooth, using the front wheels to push the car around the corner. Imran Azar right there with him. A little bit of a gap back to Carlos Maggioitis, who has Gabor all over the rear of that car now. Gabor still one use of the attack boost in 4th position. Pedro Vitor also has one use remaining, but Pedro Vitor now has Jared Mead in front of him. Pedro dives for the attack boost section, using his last of 3. We need to get a look at Pedro Vitor and see if he gets cleanly through. Oh, he must have had a bad entry because he was right there with Jared Mead on the entry. Imran Azar now alongside Nico Pantola takes the lead. Nico will take a wide entry and a wide and a straight line exit now right underneath Imran Azar. Tom, I don't know that Nico's going to have anything for him because he has so much less energy.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the energy to make it. Really, I think he does. I think it might have been a tactical decision to drop on back behind him and use the draft available. It's his only real chance in my mind of being able to get to the end of the race. Although he doesn't look like he wants to just sit behind. He wants that lead back. He wants to fight for the win. As of course, Gabor now dives into the attack boost very cleanly through there, not hitting the walls. I think he overtook Carlos Montoya just before he went in there. Yes, he did. And as a fantastic attack boost has really sort of slingshotted back towards those leading pair.
Yeah, he careless gave up the position in the first corner. Gabor, as we just saw, extending the gap a little bit. Gabor has the energy to use. Imran Azar has a little bit more than Gabor. Nico Patola, we know, is running perilously low. And we watch Nico very squirrely on the entry to that hairpin, the rear of the car, just trying to get away from him, and now falling back ever so slightly on Imran Azar. Tom, you crunched the numbers a moment ago. Sorry. 5-place grid penalty on the next attended race, causing an avoidable incident in turn 1, lap 1. That is the 14 car who has retired. That would have been, that was either Gabriel Lara. That was Gabriel Lara. So Gabriel Lara retired on the first lap of this race. And he retired from an accident that apparently he caused, drawing the blame of the officials anyway. As we watch Nico Patola now falling well behind Imran Azar, Tom, I'm going to guess that he is now in full conservation mode.
Yeah, I think he's realised the situation he's in, and he's just got to hope and pray at this point in time. He's not going to have any opportunity to really fight anyone back. I think. I don't even think a safety car would be able to save him at this point. He's got 11% left to make the next 3.5 laps, 10% now for 4 laps from the finish. So it's going to be, it's going to have to be the most conserving drive of his life.
Yeah, he's starting at lap 30 right now, so 4 laps to complete. Nico Patola in dire straits with energy as he lets his usual teammate Gabor go. Nico still sending it into turn 1, following right up behind the rear of Gabor's car, but he will need to cede the next position and then limp around and hope to retain 4th place as the pack behind him only 15 seconds clear. Yeah, he needs to save a lot of energy, and he doesn't have that much time to give. Nico Patola, the leader of this race for most of the running, now falling back to 4th position and using or saving every last drop, every electron in the batteries of that car. Nico Patola in trouble.
Yeah, Nico's always there to try his best to make a very entertaining race. It always seems, and he's tried a strategy today, and it's just not quite paid off for him. I think he needed to sit behind someone for a bit longer than what he initially did earlier on and just try and take the slipstream there. But it's unfortunate for him, but he now needs to just focus on getting the car to the finish to get those points. He's got a big enough gap back to Jared Mead, so I don't think he's going to get caught, but we'll have to see how much he's down each lap before I can make that accurate prediction.
And on the topic of sitting behind, Imran Azar spent most of the race sitting behind, has plenty of energy in those batteries, 13.5% charge remaining, 11.5% for Gabor. Gabor should be okay on energy. Pretty tight for Carlos Macioitis, but I would say he is just inside the amount of energy he needs to complete the running. Further down the order, Jared Mead, Pedro Vitor might also be in trouble. We see Rona Krampusch there with 9, but also has 2 boosts remaining that he must use. He's compelled to use all 3 of those. One of them he has just consumed. So we see him come out of the attack boost section. Tom, we had no time to catch a breath for the middle 15 or 20 laps of this race, and now as these drivers have realized their they've perhaps miscalculated a little bit with their energy consumption. Suddenly, everything is very strung out. No close races on circuit, though I think we saw 2 cars go in through this corner here, the 9th corner.
Yes, we did.
Saw Roney. Yeah, 2 cars close together, but otherwise, everyone's spreading out in the final laps.
Yeah, Pedro Vitor overtook Jared Mead because I think Jared Mead has realised he's in a bit of a sticky situation with his energy, and I don't think Vitor has realised. Jared Mead he had a decent gap to him a couple of laps ago, and He just let it go and let Vitor go on past him. And I think Vitor has only just realised the situation he's in. So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see if Vitor is able to manage that now. And I think Jared's got the best position now. He's able to sit behind, use that slipstream, and just sort of coast his way in. He's coasted there about 350 meters from the corner and still gets the move done up the inside there. Although Pedro is fighting that one back and he's closing out, not using much room, but Pedro doesn't want to let the position go. He wants to hold it, but he's using a lot of energy, a lot of power. And so we'll have to see if he's got what it takes come the end of the race.
So these two dicing for this position, that's going to use a little bit more energy. They'll feel compelled to stay on the power a little bit longer and get into it earlier. I agree with you, Tom. I don't think they've realized the situation they're in with the energy. They're scrapping for this position while a back marker jumps out of the way. Imran Azar on the final lap. Those two are catching Nico Pantola. Nico Pantola looks like he has conserved enough to squeak out the final lap of this race in fourth position. But Jared Mead and Pedro Vitor still alongside. Ronnie Krompusch used a boost to catch up to these two, has a little bit more charge, dives in now. Yeah, he has enough energy. Jared Mead and Pedro Vitor in dire straits. Imran Azar past the back marker. Ronnie Krompusch has come out of the attack boost section. He's going to they're 3 wide into this corner. Ronnie Krompusch runs by both of them and is now on top of Nico Pantola. Nico has had to coast his way around the last few laps. We're going to watch Imran Azar come across the line to take victory in the first race. Gabor will finish second. And third will go to Carlos Magiotis, but we need to look back to this battle. Ronnie Krompusch was right behind Nico Pantola. Nico conserving. Ronnie Krompusch hits the wall. Oh, he just clips the barrier on the inside there. Ronnie has no right front suspension. It's completely broken. He touches the inside barrier there. He had a chance at Nico Pantola, who had to coast around the last 3 or 4 laps. Oh, Nico just across the line in front of Ronnie Krompusch.
And
just
Jared Mead ran out of energy as well.
Oh, so everyone really close on their energy consumption. Tom, I think Nico left it a little bit late. He was a bit too aggressive early on in the race, but got across the line with just enough energy remaining. Everyone behind him, I think we need to update our calculations a little bit. Everyone behind him now knows that they were just short on energy by maybe 0.5% or 1%. That will be good information going into race 2. The track obviously different in the track obviously different going clockwise, but not perhaps not substantially so. As we watch cars coming across the finish line, the last one coming through now, we have cars in the background going up onto the podium for the first race. But drivers know more than they did, using every last electron out of those batteries, some of them running just a little bit short, but able to cross the line. Imran Azar in first position in the first of 2 races today. Gabor finishes second. After hanging behind for much of that race and conserving energy, Carlos Magiotis sneaks third position from further down the grid. Nico Pantola, first to fourth, didn't conserve enough early on, a little bit too aggressive. Has to settle for crossing the line just ahead of Ronnie Krompusch, who might have had him if he hadn't clipped the barrier in turn 9 on the final lap of the race. Jared Mead finishes 6th ahead of Pedro Vitor after a very spirited competition between those two for the bulk of the race. Lorenzo Lucchini finishes 8th. Martin Capal in 9th with Carlos Eduardo in 10th. William Davies finishes 11th position, 2 laps back with Oleg Grigorievs behind him in 13th. And Gabriel Lara did not finish, retired after the first lap there in 13th position. Tom, give me a second to breathe. You talk.
Yeah, very exciting there at the end. Of course, the charge there was always very exciting, and I think we have a potential interview coming up with Carlos Monteotis.
Hello.
Hello, Carlos. Well done on the fantastic result, getting P3 right at the death there. Your energy conservation was far better than some of those around you, and you really capitalized it on the end.
Yeah, it was fun. At first, in the first half of the race, I checked the minimap and I saw that the pack ahead was way in front of me, and then the other pack behind me was way behind, and I thought I'm gonna be alone for the whole race, but then I saw that I'm getting closer and closer to the head pack, And apparently I got top 3 then.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. I think it was a case of they were going through and then they suddenly realized that they were using it far too much energy and realized they all needed to back off a bit. Where I think you had a very good balance all the way through the race. You were able to hold a consistent usage, which put you in a good positive position for the end there.
Well, it was a decent balance, but I cannot compare to the leader, to the winner, Azhar. He has way more charge than both of us, both me and Gabor. But yeah, it was a good balance, I guess.
Carlos, one more question for you. You finished P3, a great result in the first race. We reversed the grid for the second race, so you will go from P3 here to P8 on the grid. What can you do from 8th?
Just carry on. It was really try not to flip Ronnie on the third corner, and yeah, carry on.
Well, we will leave you to prepare for race 2. Thanks very much for joining us in the box, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we will take a few moments to catch our breath. Almost as much as excitement as we could possibly handle in the first race. The second race coming up in a few moments' time. We will remind everyone that the second race is the reversal of this circuit. You can see there that turn 1 is where turn 10 was in the first race. We have a brief practice session so everyone can gain a little bit of recall about how this track goes. So we will let everyone familiarize themselves in the background. There you can see the map on screen once more. Turn 1 where turn 10 was. The attack boost section is in a different place. Tom, I think we could talk about that for a moment before we go take a breather.
Yeah, I think it opens up some very interesting possibilities. Of course, you're on the exit of a what I'm going to say is probably a slow to medium speed corner, and you just able to open up steering a bit more, dive off into the exit there, and really attack the power a bit more. Of course, it's also a bit of a shorter bit of track you get to go on as well as having that boost on there. So I think this side will be actually a bit even stronger again, attack boost.
And complicates things for the drivers a little bit because though we know the attack boost was very strong in the first race, and we expect the same to be true here, carrying all that extra speed down into this tricky turn 6 and 7 complex, braking while turning into coasting and then braking while turning into turn 6 and then making that turn 7 hairpin could add an interesting dynamic to this race. Everyone readying up in the background. We will take a few moments to catch our breath and have a sip of water, and we will be back with you in just a few moments. Thank you all for your patience and for your attention. We are back here on Sim Broadcasts for the second round of the 2023 MRC E-Challenge on a clockwise circuit, the clockwise rendition of this layout inspired by the Berlin E-Prix circuit. My name is Travis Mehlinger, joined by Tom Jones. Cars have been going around doing a brief practice in the background. We're almost ready to set the grid with the first 10 positions, reversed from the top 10 finishing positions in the first race. We have a driver who has missed the first race, who will be running from the very back of the grid. That is Hero Loco, is how everyone in the community knows him, starting 14th and last position in the second race. Tom, let's talk about this circuit a little bit. The attack boost, a little bit different. The line around the track, obviously different going clockwise. Give us your predictions.
It's if there's going to be chaos, I'm going to say probably into turn 2, I reckon here. But then again, possibly depending on how much the pack is bunched up or spread out, turn 6 is going to be a hot one because of course you're very quick in there. And then we've got it's sort of a kink, but it's slower, and then it really tightens up for turn 7. So it's going to be tricky for the drivers to get that right, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to get round there without any incidents. So that's going to be my predictions. I think the attack boost is going to be super strong because not only does it shorten the track, it also means you can open up your steering wheel a bit sooner on the exit of turn 5 there. So I think it's going to be super strong, and we're going to see some people really using that to its full potential if they're in the right position for it.
I agree with every word of that. Looking forward to the second race. The first race was incredibly exciting. We could barely get a word in edgewise about any driver we weren't looking at that particular moment. Had a 4-car fight at the front and then a 4-car fight behind that were dicing the entire race. We hope to have the same in the second of these 2 races today. There you can see on the screen the car we're running today, the E-Challenger Evo. It says 350 kilowatt there. That is in a qualifying trim. They use a little bit less energy, or they're given a little bit less energy for the race at 300 kilowatt. Still a relatively lightweight car with tons of power that these drivers will have to conserve. That was the story of the waning laps of race 1. Drivers who had left their energy savings a little bit too late and just barely crossed the line. But now they have that information for the second race. They can fine-tune. They can run those batteries down to the tightest margins. On the screen now, you see the schedule. This is round 2. Round 1 was at the Mexico City E-Prix circuit. Today, round 2 on the Berlin E-Prix circuit. And in a couple weeks' time, we will be in Singapore for round 3. We should be setting the grid in just a moment. While we wait for the grid, the race results from race 1. Imran Azar, who lurked in second, third position for much of the race, conserved and was able to take the top spot in the late running, followed by Gabor Carlos Matioitis. A very conservative race, drove from the second pack up to the front pack and managed to snatch the third podium position. Nico Matola ran in front for most of the race, just barely finished ahead of Ronnie Kronpusch after he had to make very late and aggressive energy savings. Jared Mead finishes 6th ahead of Pedro Vitor. The two of them had a spirited scrap for much of the running. Lorenzo Lucidi in 8th, Martin Capal in 9th, Carlos Eduardo rounding out the top 10. Gabriel Lara finished in 13th. He will not be joining the second race, he will be joining the second race with a grid penalty. So he will be starting in 13th position ahead of Hero Loco, who will be starting in 14th position. Interesting. We heard an interesting call in our ears right now that 2 cars would be starting with full power. So that is Imran Azar and Ronnie Kronpusch. So that is one of the rules in the rule book, is that for one race during the season, a driver is able to nominate that race to get full power. So they will have the full 350 kilowatt available to them for this race only, the 2 drivers who have chosen to do it. But that also means they will need to conserve a little bit more. So they have more power at their disposal, but they need to be more judicious in their application of the power. The starting order for this race will be Carlos Eduardo in the first position with Martin Capal alongside Lorenzo Lucchini, Pedro Vitor, then Jared Mead and Rony Kronpush, Nico Pantola, Carlos Machiotis, Gabor, and Imran Azar in 10th position. Where I got a little bit of ahead of myself there. I apologize for that. I was looking at the wrong screen. There we have Carlos Eduardo in pole position with Martin Capal alongside Lorenzo Lucchini, 8th place finisher in the first race, will start 3rd in the second race. Pedro Vitor, hero on the brakes, very entertaining driving in the first race, with Jared Mead next, the number 98 machine. There alongside Jared Mead is Rony Kronpush in the bright green 96. Nico Pantola, who finished 4th position after running at the front for most of the first race. There we have Carlos Machiotis, who nearly snatched, Carlos Machiotis, who finished in 3rd position in the first race. Gabor, who finished behind Imran Azar, there starting in 10th position. William Davies will start in 11th with Oleg Grigorievs alongside him. Gabriel Lara handed a grid penalty in the first race, though it didn't make much difference because he will be starting at the back regardless, just ahead of Jeremias Sinella, Heroloco, who was unable to join for the first race and will start at the very back for the second. The grid is set. Carlos Eduardo will lead these cars away in just a moment when the lights come up and go out. Tom, this is your last chance for a quick prediction before the lights go on.
I reckon clean getaway until turn 2, and then there's going to be someone who's going to get spun out.
Tom has made his pronouncement. 4 lights on, now 5. We wait for them to be extinguished for Carlos Eduardo to lead these drivers away. And late start for Carlos Eduardo. It looked like Martin Capal got a great jump on the lights. He will be alongside, well ahead of Carlos Eduardo, who has Jared Mead up behind him. Pedro Vitor has gone outside Jared Mead. Lorenzo Lucchini is alongside Pedro Vitor. Someone has spun in the background that looked like Rony Kronpush, who was stopped. No, Grigorievs. A bright green Machar with plenty of blue on it. Jared Mead ran somebody wide. Oh, and Rony's on his lid. Tom, was this the corner you called? I believe it was.
Yeah.
Safety car deployed. Safety car deployed.
Rony's rolled twice in 2 race starts. Unfortunately, this time he has not landed back on his wheels, and he's getting a quick trip back to the garage today.
Compose yourself, Tom. We're all very proud of you for your amazing predictions, but you can't laugh while Rony Kronpush is in this situation. Yeah, so Rony in a predicament. It has not stopped him from applying power. He is at full throttle. You can see the rear wheels spinning, and the front wheels spinning opposite directions, carrying a bit of momentum from his trip onto his lid. Martin Capal, an amazing start, a blinder of a start on the throttle just as soon as the lights went out. Excellent reaction time from him. Jared Mead able to get by Carlos Eduardo as well. Carlos Eduardo goes from 1st to 3rd in the span of the first corner. Pedro Vitor resumed his competition with Jared Mead right away, but was unable to fully benefit there in 4th position. Lorenzo Lucchini will run in 5th. Carlos Machiotis 6th. Nico Pantola in 7th. Gabor 8th. Imran Azar unable to make any headway. In fact, lost a position to Jeremias Sinella, who came from the very back, gained 5 places at the very start. And now we run around for a few moments behind the safety car, which is good. We can talk about the track state. It is dry right now. Looks like might be a bit overcast, so possibility of rain. No rain right now. Track is dry, but we always keep an eye on that. This is a new feature here. Well, I don't know if it's a new feature, but I know we haven't talked about it before. We have an all-electric safety car. So the team at MRC have put together this brilliant Evo, this E-Challenge Evo car that runs electric, and Mo has put together this all-electric safety car for us. So taking advantage of the very cool electric car features we have in Live for Speed, we now have one in a tin top, an electric sports car leading the cars around at safety car speed.
Well, that was definitely the more interesting, exciting of the 2 race starts, but of course now it leaves us in a bit of a lull period while they get the Strick and Rony all sorted out.
Yes, indeed. One of the things that we do under safety car, as we've heard, the track is clear, and we're just coming around the final corner now, so I think we'll have one more safety car lap. They will add laps to the running order. So we need the field to catch up, get everyone bunched up, which I dare say we should be able to do. We can see the last of the pack coming around the final corners now. So we'll have everyone bunch up, and then we wait for race control to decide how many laps they will add to the final total. So not conserving as much energy while running around under safety car. Obviously, one of the goals of this kind of racing is to compel drivers to wisely and judiciously use their energy. And as I'm talking about it, call from race control is +2 laps. So rather than 33 laps, we will run 35, and we have the call that the safety car will be in this lap. Martin Capal will putter around behind this all-electric safety car for a few more corners and then lead them away on the second, third 35 laps.
Yeah, they run about 40 to 45 seconds a lap slower under the safety car. So yeah, that's about what I expected. Travis, you normally ask me for predictions, but this time I'm going to ask you for one. Safety car restart, what's your expectation?
Safety car restart, my expectation is that most everybody will be pretty well behaved. Jared Mead, I think, is hungry to redeem the rather awful performance that came off after it became a wet in the first race. So I expect Jared Mead to go to the front and then manage it the best he can. And then I'm going to say late rain. I think in the closing laps, the final 6 or 7 laps, we'll see some rain. The weather forecast is dry. They're reminding me in my ear, but I don't trust it. So I've got my fingers crossed for some wet to spice things up a little bit. Martin Capal accelerating out of the final corner. Jared Mead not going anywhere, right there with him. Martin Capal picked up the speed a little bit and then late to go full song, but he is now across the start-finish line. Cars already pretty well spread out. I think we'll see a clean entry into the first corner. Martin Capal a bit wide. Jared Mead right there. Take us away, Tom.
Yeah, speed boost has now been enabled as well, so it'll be interesting to see if someone tries to take maximum advantage while everyone's bunched up to dive into that speed boost and really make a big jump. Martin Capal has pulled a little bit of a gap now on Jared Mead, so I don't think he's going to be in the best position to capitalize off that. As I say that, Jared has just closed up through that section of corners. He's taken a wider line, which says to me he's going for it, and he is. He's going for it. He's dived into the speed boost, absolutely flying down there now, up to 135, 140 miles an hour as he slots out into in the lead there. I believe Nico's dived into the speed boost as well there, but that was fantastic from Jared. Slotted himself well into the lead there, as you predicted, Travis, and he's getting away now. Hopefully he's going to try and get away now from Martin behind.
Yeah, he wants to get away a little bit and cement this lead, get into a good rhythm and run at the front, but he will know from the first race that he needs to conserve ever so slightly. We do have 2 drivers in this race. We will remind everyone that Ronnie Kronpush started the race with full power. Obviously makes no difference to him at all now because he has retired from the lid of his car in turn 2 on the back of Tom's Terrible Omens. But the other driver in this race with full power will be Imran Azar. So Imran Azar in 9th position, 350 kilowatts, whereas all his competitors are running with 300 today. However, that does mean he will need to more carefully manage his energy as we watch Jared Mead come through this sweeping right-hander now and into this medium speed right-hand corner. Nobody going yet. 2 drivers going for Carlos Eduardo and Pedro Vitor going for the speed boost. Looks like Pedro Vitor got a better entry into it and a little bit of overspeed. He'll be alongside, but on the outside of Carlos Eduardo coming into the kink. Both of them slow the cars down. The order does not change. Exciting moment for Pedro Vitor. Nearly lost it on the way in, Tom.
Yeah, and Lucidi also dived into the attack boost that lap and I think managed to jump Nico Pantola in the process.
Yes, indeed. We can see ahead of this shot from Gabor's onboard camera, Nico Pantola chasing Lorenzo Lucidi, who did indeed get by. Running order right now, Jared Mead, as I predicted, running in first position with Martin Capal about a half a second behind. Another second behind these two. Carlos Eduardo in 3rd position, Pedro Vitor, and then Carlos Matriotis. Lorenzo Lucidi has just taken that position. Or no, he's right up behind.
Nico's jumped him.
Nico just got by Lorenzo Lucidi. We've done this a few times today, Tom. We've called backward the passes, the right drivers in the wrong order. Lorenzo Lucidi now with Gabor up the rear wing of his car as Gabor makes a late and aggressive dive. That forces Lorenzo Lucidi wide. Thought he might go to the attack boost, but Imran Azar chooses to do it instead. They will now be 3 wide coming into this kink. Imran Azar by Lorenzo Lucidi and tucks in behind Gabor, who is now right up behind Nico Pantola.
Yeah, Imran Azar had a very scrappy run through the attack boost. He was basically bouncing off all the barriers on the way down and lost a lot of speed that he could have. He would have been able to jump ahead of Gabor if he was able to take it cleanly. And I'm a bit confused why Lucchini didn't take the attack boost himself. He was out there. He probably would have been able to go a bit faster if he just took the attack boost instead of trying to get it back for the standard track.
Yeah, the line was carrying him wide. I think, yeah, you're right. I think that would have benefited him immensely to just take one on the chin there, though he may not have wanted to use it, do it anyway in order to carry the speed. It ends up losing out. Jared Mead now has Martin Capal right up behind him once more. In the back, Gabriel Lara and Jeremias Zanella running close together. Looks like they've spread out a little bit now. Zanella from 14th on the grid up to 10th, and now appears to be stuck there. He was fighting for 9th, which is now Lorenzo Lucchini. So Lucchini having fallen backward as we look on board with Martin Capal. Very tight on the apex there, about as close as you can make it. Right there with Jared Mead. These two getting away from the cars behind. They're gapping Carlos Eduardo. And Tom, this is what happened in the last race, is Jared Mead, and I cannot recall who he was racing with. Jared Mead and one or two other drivers were able to get away with a slower driver kind of blocking the works behind them. And the same thing is happening today. Jared Mead, Martin Capal getting away while Carlos Eduardo holds up the train behind.
Yeah, it's I can't remember exactly what happened there, but yeah, it worked very well for them, and hopefully they don't get the safety car. But here we go, Vitor now trying to go around the outside of the swap position. I think maybe Montoya just has taken the position back on Pedro Vitor there. I might be wrong. Yeah, I think that's what's happened there.
Yep. Jeremias Zanella and Lorenzo Lucchini fighting in the background while we watch Carlos Magioitis and Lorenzo Lucchini swap position, as that looks like that is Pedro Vitor diving for the speed boost. Huge overspeed, much easier exit from this attack boost section than the one going the opposite direction, and now ends up right up the back of Carlos Magioitis, who is right there on Carlos Eduardo, as there's a car spun. It's the number 47 machine of Zanella, was making headway, and now nearly loses the rear of the car, touches the barrier, manages to stay ahead of Gabriel Lara, but now has mirrors full, and this is a 3-car train with Oleg Grigoriev, who had fallen off the pack pretty quickly in the first race, now looking pretty lively and staying with Gabriel Lara in the second race.
So Lucchini just behind Lara, actually. But yeah, Zanella clipped the inside apex of turn, I believe it's turn 7 now. Clipped the inside there, and it just sort of made him a bit wide. He gets it all wrong into turn 2 there, and Lara dives straight up the inside and capitalized at that position, not giving him a single second to recover after that. He's been catching him slowly over the last couple of laps. He's really finally managed to take full advantage of that.
Carlos Magioitis goes through the attack boost and is now easily alongside Carlos Eduardo. He will take the position up, and Carlos Eduardo will take it back. A spirited move to stick around on the inside. Very tight there and easy to touch the barrier, but Carlos Eduardo content to go alongside Carlos Magioitis, who's going to force the issue through this long right-hand corner that opens up onto the front stretch. Carlos Magioitis getting the job done with a bit of aggressive driving. We can see there on the running order, Jared Mead still at the top with Martin Capal behind him. The bigger story here is that Imran Azar has more power, but once again, the story of his race is impeccable efficiency. Just ticked down from 80%. He is using less energy than all of his competitors around him, though he has more power at his disposal as we look at Pedro Vitor go up the inside of Nico Patola on board. But there's a nice symmetry in all the energy figures we're seeing here, Tom. Everyone looks to be conserving about the same amount of energy, perhaps running a little bit leaner than they did in the first race, now that they know how the cars are going to perform around this circuit.
Yeah, I think while they're taking full effect of the attack boost and building a bit of a barrier for himself and Vitor there getting away, just needs to carry that to catch the car ahead, which I can't exactly remember who it is. I think it's Eduardo Montoya ahead there, but of course Vitor making a very spirited move earlier on Nico Pantola, and Nico not wanting to let him go, is sticking right up behind him there, and he's getting a solid exit out, but I think Vitor just got better traction and just disappeared up. Eduardo there taking the inside line, similar to what Jared Mead has been doing for the whole of the last race. Interested to see if he's doing it again this time, as Nico's driven right into the back of Pedro Vitor, and then Gabor's caught in that a little bit as well, got round, but Imran Razar taking full effect of it and getting past all of them.
I wish we could see a replay there, because Gabor Gabor caught Nico Pantola going backward down the straight, and it looked like, I don't think they touched, it looked like Nico managed to get it into reverse and pull and reverse away to avoid further contact there. I don't know if that was the case, but I really want to know. It didn't look like Gabor touched him. Either way, Imran Azar is now through into 7th position ahead of Nico Pantola. Nico Pantola falling down the order with Gabor ahead of him as well. We asked we had an interview with Carlos Macioitis and asked him a couple questions between the two races, and we asked him what he thought he could do from 8th on the grid. And, well, would you look at that? Carlos Macioitis has climbed up to 3rd position where he finished in the first race, and now he is stalking these two who are racing each other really closely. Mark Capal a little bit late on the brakes, gets it a bit wrong, nearly runs up the back of Jared Mead, avoids a collision. These two pulling away slightly. I think Carlos Macioitis, we know how well he can manage his race, and I think he'll feel confident about how well he can manage as there's a big collision there. Carlos Eduardo and Pedro Vitor looked like they got wheels interlocked. That was a big hit for Pedro Vitor. The front wing of that car broken badly, probably some suspension damage. Carlos Eduardo ended up backwards in the barrier as well, and just now getting away.
Yeah, the
Pedro
car's just
Vitor, a
behind.
lot of damage.
Cars just behind there did a fantastic job at avoiding those two spinning out in the middle of the track there. But now with Gabor, Imran Azar, and Nico dives into the attack boost now to try and close that deficit down. He's not had the best of luck with it because, of course, Imran Azar does have that extra power he uses to just hauling Gabor down the straight.
Big advantage from the attack boost going this direction as it was the other direction. We predict this, and it appears it is our prediction has come off beautifully. Nico Pantola now right there with Imran Azar. It will be, I'm curious to see, Tom, how the extra power will benefit Imran Azar in the late running. Because obviously he needs to be very careful with his energy consumption and conservation. If he uses too much, because he has so much more power at his disposal, obviously that will hurt him. But if he's smart, and we know how well he was able to conserve energy in the first race as he goes a little bit wide through this corner, gives up a bit of a gap to Gabor. Pedro Vitor now in the pits. I presume he is repairing. It'll be interesting to see how Imran Azar can use the energy and the extra power late in the race to perhaps snatch another great finish, if not a top spot.
There you go. I think Gabor's noticed that Imran Azar is just definitely closing on him down the straight, so has dived into that attack boost and has built a comfortable margin there, so he gets a couple laps more safety barrier before Imran Azar's just faster car is able to haul him in again.
So story of the race so far, we're about a little past 1/3 of the way through, starting lap 14 in just a moment. Jared Mead is the leader ahead of Martin Capal, just 4/10 back. Carlos Macioitis runs in 3rd, where he finished the first race. Carlos Macioitis slowly bringing this gap down. And there we can see the energy figures. Gabor has 65% remaining. Imran Azar 67, the master of energy conservation. Ahead of Nico Pantola in 6th with 62. I see 63s for Gabriel Lara, Lorenzo Lucchini, some 64s. Everyone doing a good job managing energy in this race. Jared Mead, not least, at the front with 63%. Mark Capal just behind him with 62.5%. So energy consumption looks to be in pretty good order for everyone. There you can see the attack boost figures. Martin Capal has not been through yet, so he might have an opportunity later on if he chooses to hold on to those to get by Jared Mead. But Carlos Macioitis is slowly reeling in the leaders. Strong finish from him in the first race. He is bringing down the gap, and he is also conserving the energy.
Yeah, definitely. He's doing that well. I will have to throw a little bit of a curveball in again. I haven't actually done a full calculation on Saturn board and seen how much rough energy they're using each lap. But there is 21 laps to go. And so they're going to need at least 63% to make it to the end. If my rough calculations from the last lap, I don't know how much energy they use, but it's about 3% they're going to need a minimum of a lap.
Yeah, so it's going to be, they're on the 15th lap now, which will have, well, Jared Mead's just coming into, this will be turn 6 for them on this lap. So he's halfway through this lap. We'll be starting 20 laps remaining when he comes by the next time. So it will be pretty close. The extra safety car laps, even with energy consumption of the safety car being so much less than it is at racing speed, that might be the difference. These two in front may need to conserve a little bit. Gabor clearly clearly has enough energy. Imran Azar as well, but might be tight for everyone else till you get back down to Oleg Grigorievs, Pedro Vitor, William Davies at the end of the order who still have more than 60%.
Yeah, I do really think these guys on in the 58, 57, 58% are going to struggle as we get later into the race. Carlos Montoya, I think I don't want to start saying people are in the danger zone now, but I think he's going to be tight.
Yep, he is quickly approaching half energy remaining, and he's got a lap and a half before half distance remaining. So I agree with you, might be tight. Looks like Oleg Grigoriev's jumping out of the way as a back marker. He is coming to, okay, nothing wrong with the car, just a little bit late choice to get out of the way on the inside of the corner, but everyone is through unimpeded. As we watch Jared Mead lead the order, that is Martin Capal behind him, Carlos Macchioia just slowly reeling them in, now only 2.5 seconds back. There was a 4 or 5 second gap just a few laps ago. Not much happening down the order at the moment. Everyone pretty well spread out. Closest race on circuit right now is these two at the front, separated by half a second. And then Imran Azar and Gabor about half a second apart themselves. And we will wait to see when we cross the halfway mark how the energy looks. And it's possible we may have been a bit more conservative in our estimations than we needed. Tom, I think they're going to come across the line a bit more than 50% and should be good on energy. But weather, safety cars, accidents, speed boosts, Imran Azar's extra energy could all play into the second half of this race.
Yeah, it's one of those, when you get closer, it's a mental thing as well, where you see that ticking down and you start getting worried mentally, whereas someone who has far more energy will be comfortable knowing that they're able to push the car harder than you are because you're ticking it down there.
Looking at Imran Azar now, we'll remind everyone he does have extra power for this race. He nominated this as the race that he would choose to take the full 350 kilowatts of power rather than the 300 that everyone else has. Again, everyone is entitled to do that once per season. Today is the day that Imran Azar has chosen to bring that extra power in that electric motor. Imran Azar trailing Gabor, both of them about 10 seconds off the lead, just managing the race right now. We know Imran Azar was very good at managing the race in the first of these two races today. Gabor makes a mistake coming out of the first corner, just touches the wall, going a bit wide, and now has mirrors completely filled with that neon yellow machine of Imran Azar.
Yeah, he's hounding him at the back there. We know Gabor, the quality of driver he is, he's very, very good. And with Imran Azar there sitting behind him, he's always, even though he's got the extra power, he's got to find a way as he dives into the attack boost there. Use it. Oh, it's all over the place. He's hit the wall. I think a bit too much power, a bit too much acceleration went through, but still, you see just how quick it makes you go. But hopefully, for his sake, he hasn't got some serious damage, although it is visually damaged at the front there.
Yeah, front wing definitely broken a bit, and he's fallen back from Gabor. The rest of the car appears to be in pretty good working order. However, that does drop him back from Gabor. Gabor now with some breathing room, and Imran Azar now has Nico Pantola to worry about behind.
Yeah, I'd say to worry about, it's still probably about, I think it's about a second and a half gap or so there. So he's got to worry about him, but it's not a pressing issue at the minute.
Looking up and down the order, hearing in my ear that Gabriel Lara is lagging, so we'll keep an eye on that. Tom, somewhat different strategy from most of the drivers in the second race. Up and down the order in the first race, we saw drivers going for the attack boost section pretty much every lap. And now, if we look from 5th on down, there are only 3, as Gabriel Lara just timed out, so that will be another DNF, 2 DNFs from 2 races today. That's a disappointing conclusion for his event. From 5th on down, there are only 3 attack boost usages remaining, everyone further back choosing to use all of those early. While at the front of the order, the top 4 have nearly all of theirs. Martin Capal does have all 3 of his, while Jared Mead, Carlos Macchioia, and Gabor have each only used 1.
I think that comes down to the complexion of the race. Of course, with the first race, we didn't have a safety car to bunch people up, so it allowed that couple lap window for people to spread out. Of course, this race, we had the safety car early on, and before the attack boost got activated. So as soon as the attack boost was ready, everyone was still sort of nose to tail. So it made the attack boost, if you could get it properly, that bit more effective for you and to gain as many paces as possible.
Yeah, and Martin Capal might be playing a bit of chess with his attack boost in this race. They pass by the entrance to it one more time. Martin Capal still has not used any of his. But the gap they have extended on Carlos Magiotis again. Gabor still hanging around 10 seconds behind the leaders. But Carlos Magiotis had shrunk that gap to about 2.5 seconds, now back to 5. Perhaps he is conserving a bit. Speaking of conserving, Jared Mead, perhaps he's listening to the broadcast, has conserved a bit more than he had in the earlier running. He had used somewhat less than the drivers further back down the order. Now I'd say he's right in the middle, perhaps on the lower side of drivers in their energy savings, but certainly looking better than Martin Capal and Carlos Magiotis behind him.
Yeah, just a little bit of energy mapping with Jared Mead there. He used 2.9% charge that lap. He went from 46.7% down to 43.8% from the readings I can see. So it's roughly 3% a lap, which says to me there are some drivers who are going to be in trouble towards the end of this race.
But one of them, at least as far as we can tell from the information you have shared with us now, one of them will not be Jared Mead, who goes a little bit wide on the entry, but gets a nice, tight entry to the second of those left-hand corners. They were right-hand corners in the first race. We have, of course, we'll remind everyone, reversed the circuit from the first race. They went the opposite direction down this straightaway that we see Carlos Magiotis streaking down right now. Jared Mead still in control. Still no threat of rain. I predicted it, and I was quickly admonished for it because I couldn't read the weather forecast, but I'm standing by my prediction that will shake things up in the late running. Jared Mead in front with Martin Capal behind him. Carlos Magiotis all over the place at the gap. It was 5 seconds. It was 2 seconds. It is now 3.5 seconds again. Gabor in fourth, who has now shrunk the gap slightly to the leaders. It was about 10 seconds. Now he's gotten it down to about 8 or 9 or so. Imran Azar has extra power for this round, running in fifth, not making any headway on Gabor. That interval was nose to tail a few laps ago, is now up to about 4 seconds. Nico Pantola runs in sixth, Lorenzo Lucchini seventh, Jeremias Zanella up from the very back, 14th on the grid in eighth, Pedro Vitor in ninth, and the pole sitter has now done a full reversal himself, running 10th position, Carlos Eduardo.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to Jared Mead for a few laps in a row, and he's averaging about 2.9% over the last 4 laps is what he's used. He's dropped down a little bit and just popped up a little bit for his usage, but yeah, definitely confirms me there's a few people who are going to be struggling. He lifts actually, interestingly, when he hits the start-finish line, that's when he lifts for going into turn 1. So he's driving about halfway down the track, the straight there, lifted, because as I just got told in my ear by Mo, that's when you hit top speed. So there's no real point holding the throttle down, accelerating, because you're not going to gain any speed. And I'm not sure what's happened there, but I've just noticed Martin Capal has lost a whole load of time back to Jared Mead. So I don't know what's gone on there, but it's not going to help his chances.
Yeah, they caught the back marker in an awkward place. William Davies was trying to get out of the way, and I think struggled to make a final decision about which way he was going to go. So William Davies ended up on the inside and then moving to the outside to try to get out of the way. And I think Martin Capal, being cautious, instead of running into the back of him, lifted and gave Jared Mead a bit of a gap. Not too badly. Went from about 4 or 5 tenths to 1.3 seconds. Martin Capal can certainly close that gap, though at the cost of energy. However, he does have 3 usages of the attack boost section remaining. He has not been in there yet. He will need to before the end of the race. He's got 12 laps to use 3 of those, so still plenty of time. And we said earlier he might be playing a little bit of a mind game. He might be strategizing with Jared Mead ahead of him. If he saves those to the last, we know how strong the attack boost is. He might just be able to snatch the top spot away.
Yeah, there we go. He dives into the attack boost there. He gets a good run through. We'll see how he comes out. I know Jared is already lifted, but he's really struggling a bit. I expect him to be a bit closer coming out the end of there, I won't lie.
Yeah, I also expected him to be a little bit closer. He had it was a very good entry, nice and smooth onto the attack boost, and then no wheel spin on the way out. He was in full control, but he didn't make much headway at all. In fact, he's lost time, so I'm not sure what happened. He's now 2 seconds back of Jared Mead, while he has Carlos Matioitis lurking behind him, less than 1 second back.
Yeah, if I could just point some attention to the old screen with all the energy. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know where my brain went there. So we've got just about 10 laps to go now, and I think anyone with less than 20, well, really 30 to 29 to 30% energy is going to be in trouble for making it towards the end. That's my prediction. I've done a few laps of watching Jared, and we've got 2.9 to 2.8%. So Martin Kapul's going to be close. Carlos Matioitis is going to be close. Nico is also going to be close, and Zanella is a maybe in my book.
Watching Jared Mead come through this kink in this right-hand corner, who now has a 2-second gap on Martin Kapal, so he doesn't have to worry about any fight from behind at the moment. He can just put his head down and turn in good laps while making good use of his energy. We watch Jared Mead come around the final corner. Cars are spread out right now, not too much action, so we will take a breath for one lap, and you can listen to how these cars work and how Jared Mead drives this machine around this Berlin E-Prix circuit. There we go. That's nearly one full lap with Jared Mead. A little bit of wheel spin on the way out, which wastes some energy. But Tom, one thing, we haven't done that before, and we haven't gotten to appreciate just how much they lift. Jared Mead coasting all the way through that chicane in turn 3 and 4. So you can hear, when we're out of the way, just how aggressively they have to save energy.
Yeah, it's quite it's a very different form of racing. It really is, and it really challenges you. You'll have to do quite a few laps to really figure out how you're going to make it for the end of the race, and you'll have to be constantly focusing on that. Of course, we've got Gabor now right onto the back of Kapal. He has done the move on Carlos Matioitis as he's going around the outside here, so I predict him diving into the attack boost. There he goes, gets a good entry there, really solid, and he's ahead before the exit there. So Gabor now is left open to challenge Jared Mead, who is still got I think it's about a 3 to 5 second sort of buffer he's managed to build up, but Gabor's definitely going to have the bit between his teeth now. We're coming on to just about 8 laps to go, and they're very equal on energy.
Yeah, Jared has one more run through the attack boost section than Gabor does, and they are level on energy. Martin Kapal probably going to more aggressive conservation, as is Carlos Matioitis, who has even less energy to use than Martin Kapal does. Meanwhile, behind those two, Imran Azar up to 5th position, only 3 seconds and change back, has 27% energy remaining. So Imran Azar managing as well in this race as he did in the first race. He has no boost remaining, however, so he will have to do the work on his own on circuit, carefully balancing his energy consumption with his need to go faster. But Jared Mead in a strong position, has a 3-second gap on Gabor. One more use of the attack boost section remaining, level on energy. Jared in a strong position, but this is not the place I would want to be with Gabor lurking in my mirrors.
Yeah, I think in reference to Imran Mazar, I think he's struggled a bit with the attack boost. With this extra power, it's unbalanced the car going over it quite a bit. He really just couldn't take maximum effect of it. I don't think. I think it's just a bit too much power having that 350 trying to go over there. So I think he's used those, so I don't think it's going to be an issue for him. Martin Kapur, on the other hand, had a horrendous time every time he hit the attack boost. So I think him having that one left, he's kind of dreading using it because every time he's done it, he's lost a time.
Yeah, we are watching with eyes peeled and firmly glued on the energy figures there on the timing tower. Jared Mead and Gabor those numbers ticking down nearly in lockstep, though Jared Mead, it ticks down to 20%, while Gabor is still hanging around on 21. Obviously, there's a little bit of play in these figures, but Gabor has ever so slightly much more than Jared Mead does. So Jared Mead used just a bit more than Gabor. He's also extended that gap a little bit, 4 seconds. Martin Capal, a huge lift, about 250 meters before the corner. Now we're right there behind Gabor once more. I think he's probably in trouble on energy, but he's still going to make a fight of it.
Yeah, I'd certainly say he's not going to make it to the end. Carlos Montoyotis isn't going to make it to the end. Nico Pantola isn't going to make it to the end. It's going to be very close, really, with those. They're going to have to really be lifting 300-400 meters before the corners if they want to have any chance of making it there. Of course, that's going to cost them heavy with lap time.
Yeah, so Jared Mead and Gabor still the best of the leaders, except for Imran Azar, who has plenty there, 21% in 5th position. But I think, I'm inclined to agree with you, Tom, that all of these drivers are in trouble. It'll be very tight for Jared and Gabor, but I think they might just be okay. But then we look down the order to Imran Azar. Could probably sneak there into 3rd, maybe 2nd or 1st position if they don't quite make it. But now down to 9th, Pedro Vitor with 20%, Carlos Eduardo with 21. Could they swipe these positions and move well up the order in the last lap or two, as the drivers ahead of them have to clutch and coast?
It's what I'd say is there is a lap between a few of them, so there is. Okay, so it's like Pedro Vitor is on a great amount of charge, but he is a lap back on Zanelli. And here we go, Imran Azar taking that move up the inside. Carlos Montoyotis realizing he's in a very dangerous position with his charge and just needs to back off for now. And I think we're going to see him in a very similar situation to what Nico had in the last race, where he's going to have to start sort of saving aggressively, and that's going to unleash Imran Azar now to attack ahead. I think Martin Capal's going to have to sort of do the same thing, and we're going to see what Imran Azar is able to do in terms of taking time out of those ahead with his 4.5 laps left.
There, we got to see Imran Azar as Martin Capal goes for the attack boost section in the background. That was a very cool camera effect. I heard a noise that led me to believe it was not intentional, but it looked great. Martin Capal goes through the attack boost section, not able to make any headway on Gabor, but still in control of 3rd position. However, he won't be in control much longer if Imran Azar has his way, has more charge and more power, though he is starting to use it, down to 16%, still plenty more than Martin Capal, but the extra grunt of that 350 kilowatt electric motor definitely pulling on the batteries a bit harder than the competitors around him. Imran Azar we got to see on the last lap, and we got to see it just there, how much more speed Imran Azar is able to carry when he uses the entirety of the power available to him. And now Martin Capal, I believe, in the next quarter or two, probably going backwards. Certainly doesn't help going wide there, though he gets good traction on the exit. What we need to see is Jared Mead at the front. He's extended the gap to 5.6 seconds. Wheel spin from Imran Azar. I think he's content to hang around behind Martin Capal for the moment, because he knows Martin Capal is a sitting duck. Might as well conserve and then use the extra power to get by in a more convenient place.
Yeah, Martin Capal is just, I think doesn't have the setup right for the attack boost, because he was, I think he lost about a second to Imran Azar when he took the attack boost, which really just helped everyone else around him. So there we go. Imran Azar now up to 3rd place with just Gabor and Jared Mead standing between him and a possible race win. Unfortunately for him, though, he's looking at probably about a 10-second deficit that he's going to have to try and close down over the next 3 laps.
I think Jared Mead has timed this perfectly. So it says 9% remaining, and he crossed the line to start the 33rd lap. He was using 2.9, so he will just make it across. He also has 1 use of the attack boost section remaining, so he can shorten the track ever so slightly. That will help him. Gabor now has to do it with about the same, slightly more, but not significantly so. He needs to use about the same margin as Jared Mead to catch up 4 seconds, unless Jared Mead, who just went through the attack boost section, he will now have used all of his. Unless Jared Mead gives this away to Gabor, he's looking pretty strong in the remaining 2.5 laps.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a betting man, I'm not going to say anything because commentators cursed, and I felt horrendous for him last time. Imran is catching the pair of them very quickly ahead, and of course he does have the power on his side. Although at 3% a lap, they've got just over 7%, 6% tick down now, so they can't go too aggressive than their normal strategies. Whereas Imran Mazar now could more or less just relatively throw away all the power saving and just go for it. Really, is what he could do.
Yeah, and I think he might just do that. Gabor has picked up the pace a little bit and closed the gap to 3.8, but I don't think that's because he wants to catch and pass Jared Mead. I think that's because he has seen the bright yellow car in the distance behind him. Imran Azar, full power, using all of it, just catching him hand over fist through the chicane and on that short run to turn 6. Yeah, Gabor now has a problem behind him. He's closed the gap to 3.6, but he is definitely not chasing. He is trying to stay ahead of Imran Azar, who is coming and quickly.
Yeah, he's being held up now by the back marker car, which I don't think quite got out of the way as quick as he could, and definitely I think it probably cost him about a second stuck behind that back marker, which is going to really infuriate Imran Azar, and I think could really hinder him with an attempt here to onto Gabor.
Sorry, Tom. Looking ahead, Jared Mead also has back markers to work about. He's just gotten past Oleg Grigoriev's. Jeremias Zanello dives out of the way at the last second. Jared Mead nearly clipped the back of his car. That's put Gabor even closer. It says 3.3 seconds on the timing tower, but probably about 3.3 seconds. It looked like Gabor was closer coming out of that corner. Oleg's out of the way of Gabor, and will now need to jump out of the way of Imran Azar, but I think Imran Azar might be too far back. Watching Jared Mead, now has all the back markers out of the way, but one who is pretty far up the road, coasting at the 200-meter board into this left-hand corner and through the right-hand hairpin. Jared Mead, this double left-hander behind Lorenzo Lucidi ahead of him, and then this long right-hander, Lorenzo Lucidi, out of the way. Now plenty of back markers between him and Gabor. Tom, this isn't Crashmas. It is the Master Race Car E-Challenge. Jared Mead going to cross the line and take the win. He redeems himself after a terrible showing in the second race of the first round. Now able to get onto the top spot of the podium. Gabor 2.5 seconds behind. Had to drive hard and use every last bit of energy in the closing laps to stay ahead of Imran Azar. Imran Azar goes from first to third. First in the first race, third in the second race. Great day for him. And as we watch Carlos Machiotis coming across the line behind Martin Capal. Yeah, Carlos Machiotis hearing he's going to have a penalty behind Martin Capal. We'll see how that shakes out and where it drops him in the order. Nico Pantola credited for 6th right now, who is crawling around right now. We should probably check on board with him and see how much energy he has. It is clearly not very much. Battery, that looks like 2.0%, so Nico Patola should be able to get through, but a long way behind Carlos Machiotis in 5th position. There you can see the race control message, under investigation for underuse of speed boost. So Carlos Machiotis compelled to use 3 and used 2 or fewer. And here we watch Nico Patola come across the line now. And once he comes across the line, everyone else, I believe, is 1 lap off. There we are. Jeremias Zanella will finish behind Nico Patola in 7th, Lorenzo Lucidi in 8th, Pedro Vitor in 10th, and Carlos Eduardo will round out the top 10, finishing in 10th position. So we await a ruling from race control to see how far down the order that will drop Carlos Machiotis. But one more time, Jared Mead on the top step of the podium, 41 minutes and 50 seconds, 35 laps. In the second race of round 2 of the MRC E-Challenge, Gabor finishes second, 2.5 seconds back. Imran Azar, 7 seconds clear of Jared Mead, rounds out the podium. Martin Capal in 4th, Carlos Machiotis in 5th, Nico Patola 6th. Jeremias Zanella from 14th on the grid. Good showing from him, up to 7th position. Lorenzo Lucidi in 8th, Pedro Vitor in 9th, and Carlos Eduardo in 10th position. We will take 1 minute to get our interviews in order. We got a few people lined up. We'll catch a quick breath, and we will be back with you in just a moment. We've had a drink. We've had a breath of fresh air. We are ready to talk to the winner of the second race today, Jared. That had to be just brutally disappointing in the first round, being in command of the second race and then having the weather unravel it for you. But today, you snatched the top spot early on. You were in control the entire time, and now you're a winner in the MRCE Challenge. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah, and I think this is the first time I've ever won an NDR event, so it was a nice one. It was special, and yeah, it was just kind of a Martin and I somehow. I slithered right up the inside on start through all the chaos. Martin came on voice and was just like, "How am I leading this?" And yeah, just it was a good start. The reverse grid helped. It was kind of like round one, where the reverse put me up near the front and I threw it away. I used the reverse this time, and yeah, just kept a clean, tidy race, I guess.
And you have to feel pretty good about keeping Gabor at bay. I would be shaking in my racing boots if I had Gabor with the bit between his teeth behind me, but you kept it between the walls and kept Gabor behind you.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on the margins, and I had a minor panic attack about halfway through the race. I came to the realization that I was short on fuel a little bit. And because even Martin and I were back and forth, and we're like, no, 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 we're good, we're bad. And like, no, Martin, we're not good. And I had to do some saving through the middle of the race, and then saw the guys behind. They were catching. But it's like, okay, I'm good now. And then picked up the pace, and then the margin kind of stabilized there towards the end.
Yeah, I noticed you did quite a fantastic job at energy saving. You were incredibly consistent with your energy use, to be honest. We were going through and I was checking it, making sure it was okay. Now, a question I've got really is, how much did you practice the attack boost section? Because we saw some of the other drivers, such as Martin Kapoor, really struggled on that second run through the attack boost. I'm just wondering, how much was that sort of thing that went into your preparation for the race?
Not for this, especially for this direction, not really at all. I did a maybe on like full honesty, maybe like 7 or 8 passes through the other direction because I had the really tricky access road this way. Yeah, but even maybe doing that 7 or 8 and a couple times before round one is probably more than some people have done. So it is something people should practice, and even just those 4 or 5 passes through to get the feel for it because it is weird.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Now, looking forward to next time out. I think it's a 2-week break and then we're back again. How much are you looking forward to that?
Oh, no, this would be really fun to come back and try again. And I'm thinking again, probably the first round, I'll get out qualified and kind of get stuck in traffic. Maybe the reverse grid, I can, take advantage of it again. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see.
Well, we hope to see you near, if not on, near the top step once again. And when that happens, we will be happy to talk to you. That's Jared Mead, winner of the second race today. Thanks very much for joining us, Jared.
Thank you, guys.
And congratulations to you. All right, that was Jared Mead, winner in the second race. And we have once again finished P3 in the first race. We've got Carlos Machiotis. Carlos, I asked you before if you could move from, if you could manage from 8th and get another strong finish, and you were running in 3rd, and it looked like energy management was a little more difficult going the opposite direction.
Oh, definitely. So much for the praise in the first race. Yeah, this one was much more difficult. The safety car threw off the averages, where you can see your lap usage in F12 menu. Well, it averages out several laps, I guess. So right after the safety car, I had no real way of knowing whether I am good or on usage. So I was way overspending the actual usage. At mid race, I realized that I am almost 1 lap behind. I started saving, then I caught up to Kapal, I think, and it was weird that I caught up to him so fast. Then I did some more calculations and I realized I am still 1 lap behind, even more than 1 lap behind. I think at one point I was 2 laps behind my normal pace. So yeah, I had to do heavy savings on the final part.
We noticed that and thought it was a little bit odd that you had closed the gap so quickly, and we guessed that you needed to save, but we weren't sure that Martin Kapal was saving so aggressively that that you would have caught up to him. So we were a little bit confused, but that explains it.
Yeah, I was actually glad that I caught up to him that early. That gave me quite some time for saving. so it wasn't as bad, but still, it was not fun.
I'm curious how much difference you think the slipstream makes, because we noticed, at the front of the pack in the first race, you were content to hang around in fourth position, third position, behind the leaders. Is it that helpful for saving energy? Does it not make that much a difference?
I honestly think it doesn't help much. If you get a good exit and you can hang around in there, of course it's good, but it is really hard to get an exit that keeps you up close to the other car, because usually if you have the same kind of exit, the gap just becomes too big. Especially that the final corner is the exit is really tricky, not to get the wheel spin, to get the proper line, to get the power down. It's quite hard.
And since we're talking about managing energy, I've got one more question for you. We noticed we went on board for a quiet lap with Jared Mead, who was running in front, and we hadn't realized, because we'd never done this before, just how early he was lifting and coasting into some of the corners, and noticed that even in the chicane in the middle of the circuit, that he was coasting all the way through. I'm curious if you choose to lift and coast to different places, if you do it a little bit differently from the other drivers, or if it's pretty much the same for everyone.
Well, it's quite hard to compare to other drivers, because I don't really know how they do it. But yeah, at first I wasn't coasting enough in the middle chicanes. After I realized that I'm way overboard with energy usage, yeah, then I started coasting the whole chicane as well. But yeah, I'm also trying to lift early. Maybe the gear ratios are a bit too long, because with shorter gear ratios, you would get better acceleration out of turns, which is quite critical. Possibly, if you coast a lot at the later stage of the straight, maybe it's better to have a good exit on the corner into the straight. Not sure.
Well, thank you for your insight, and congratulations on a strong finish. I know you probably wanted to be further up in the order, and it was looking a bit better early on, and then you had to manage toward the end. But 8th to 5th is still pretty strong, and a podium in the first race. I think you got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm content with 5th. I mean, I did it myself. The usage, that's on me. So yeah, I'm content here.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we'll see you in round 3. That's Carlos Machiotis, finished 3rd place in race 1 and 5th in race 2. And I believe that will conclude our broadcast today. Tom, round out your thoughts.
Yeah, it's always exciting, e-challenge. No matter how many cars we have on the grid, we know there's always going to be a lot of action through the field. All kicked off quite early on in race 2 there with that safety car. Race 1 had the action all the way through with those 2 groups of 4 cars we had fighting along. And as per normal with this very exclusive sort of challenge, you find the energy was the big issue going through. Of course, there's no refueling, no recharging. As you will, you start with what you have, and you've got to make that last all the way to the end. So yeah, it always makes it interesting, and I always thoroughly enjoy watching it, and I can't wait to Singapore in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you for sharing that, Tom. There you can see on the screen the calendar. We have just concluded round 2 at the Berlin E-Prix circuit. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. That's February 26th, Sunday. Same time, 1800 hours in the evening for the Singapore Grand Prix circuit, round 3. Round 4 will be at the New York E-Prix circuit 2 weeks after that. And then on March 26th, note the time, 1700 hours, not 1800, owing to daylight savings in the United Kingdom, will be at the Adelaide City E-Prix circuit. That is all for us. We want to thank the MRC team for putting on this event, the NDR officiating crew for joining them to help officiate these events. They are brilliant, and we love them. Thanks to all of them for putting this together. Michael Malik did a brilliant job on this layout. It was so much fun for us to watch, and we really appreciate all the effort they put into these excellent events that we can broadcast to you. The Sim Broadcast production team in the background, we couldn't do it without them. Tom and I are just 2 voices. There's a lot more work that happens that you don't see or hear. Tom Jones, my dear friend, for joining me in the commentary box. It's a pleasure as always. And most of all, to you, our viewers, thank you very much for joining us to watch this event today. We had so much fun bringing it to you, and we hope to see you next time. Wherever you are, be well and be safe. Thank you again, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.